Hello, I believe we're live. Kia ora koutou. Welcome to Encounter Roleplay. I just about said the wrong thing. Hello to all of those of you who are watching live. If you're not watching live, you're on YouTube, come and check us out at 11 p.m. Eastern over for the live show. Today we are playing.
Were you gonna say your podcast? Was that what you were going to do?
I was fully going to.
I was like,
hello, kia ora, welcome to Mud and Blood, a podcast dark and grim. I fully just about screwed that up. But anyway, we're up to episode 10, I think.
I think so.
Episode 10 of Darkness and Davokar, our Symbaroum game that we come and we play every week except for the last 2 weeks because we've been shit. Welcome. We come, we do the thing. People are just giving away subs like crazy in chat. Awesome.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Awesome.
Liking that.
Yeah. Thank you, liking Summer.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, thanks. What a champion. What a champion. Absolute champ. So anyway, who the fuck am I? I am Liam. Great start, guys. I am Liam, the GM here today at Symbaroum. Current couple of weeks out of practice, and joining me today we have our usual casts of scoundrels and rogues. So I'll go clockwise on my screen, and we'll go through everybody. So Sean, sup, my man?
How's it going, guys? It's nice to be back in Symbaroum after a couple of weeks break for reasons, both good and bad. Enjoyed last week. It was really nice palette cleanser and great little fleshing out of the darkness that is Davokar. See what I did there? But no, I'm looking forward to jumping back into Lothar and everybody failing horribly on their rolls and bad things happening.
Yeah.
Once again, we're on a boat, isn't it? Everything's always gone well when this party's been on a boat, so
all goes well. This will be your last trip on the boat for a while, so fingers crossed, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have Luke or Vern, the man himself. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad you remembered my name when you couldn't remember your own. That's
that's
good start.
Dedication. It's a player first mentality that you have to work on as a GM to get.
So noble. I'm doing good. I'm ready to get back into this. It's been 2 weeks. I've been missing it, so got a couple new tricks up my sleeve this time around. The master has taught me well, and I want to see if I can put some of them to use.
Awesome. I'm scared to think what it could be. And next we have Charlotte. Sup?
Hey. Yeah, no, it is. I'm glad to be back here getting to play Symbaroum. Our last game was epic, to say the least. Like Sean was saying, it was kind of neat to see a different side of the Davokar, like a side that our quote-unquote heroic characters wouldn't generally see. To play from the standpoint of just regular peasants of sorts was really fun. So, but no, I'm really glad to be back. This is going to be fun. Kind of curious to see what kind of shit we'll get up to now.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I have the loose idea. Like for 2 weeks of prep, I've got not much session planned, but it's cool. I've got a good idea of what's going on.
That's worked out well for us in the past.
Yeah, it was my thinking. I was like, every time I over prep, these guys fuck it up, and they're on a boat. I could never trust you guys to stay on the river when you're on a boat, so I'm just not gonna. I'm not over committing. So,
which way does the river flow? We're going the other way.
And lastly, Ryan, welcome back to from your travels.
Yeah, man. I was saying earlier, I apologize if I seem especially low energy this week. I'm jet lagged post travel funk. I feel awful, but I'm really looking forward to playing Symbaroum. I missed it. I don't remember how to play tabletop anymore, but I think I'll figure it out.
It's all right. I can't remember my own name, so it could be worse. But before we go and dive on into that, I'm going to read the spiel, and we'll get that out the way, and then we'll go back to forgetting how to play games. So we have a few sponsors today which allow us to have this game. And first and foremost amongst them is Fantasy Grounds, our virtual tabletop of choice. All the dice rolls you see right there in the middle of the screen, right below me, there, right there, that's Fantasy Grounds. That's the MVP of this campaign. Fantasy Grounds screws over the players at every single opportunity, and I just wish they were playing a roll high system like D&D. You can check it out yourself for free over at fantasygrounds.com. Also, if you're into miniatures, Whaling Games, whalinggames.co.uk has all of your tabletop miniatures you could want for free. Warhammer, D&D, the whole lot. Not for free, for 20% off. Not free.
Like, damn, I'm going to go sign up right now. That sounds awesome.
Okay, BRB. No, 20% off. Everything you could possibly want is right there. Go check it out. And then we have our sponsor, Tabletop Loot, who sell incredible dice. Every time we hit 20 retweets, we give away a set of dice in chat. So go and retweet the tweet, which will be popping up on chat shortly because the producer's onto it. And then once we hit 20, we'll give away some dice, because who the fuck doesn't want free dice? Free dice is cool. And otherwise, you can interact with today's game. You can donate to affect the game. You can give players nat 1s, nat 20s, wild magic surges, the whole shebang. And if you see anything in the show you really like, if you want to remind these guys how badly they screwed up, or how awesome they were, or how badly Fantasy Grounds stepped up to the plate and did the hard yards, just clip a moment, send it on through, and we'll love you forever. Anyway, enough of that bullshit. Let's get to the game. Last time we played, the party had just finished. Well, last time we played Symbaroum anyway. The party had just finished sailing away from Clavis. Clavis is Verm's old master, and Verm had gone there to learn some tricks. And along the way, whilst doing Clavis a favour, Theophan picked up a hitchhiking spirit which possessed her for a time. The party nearly killed her, and then she nearly killed herself. But luckily, we're all alive. And we're all loaded up in the backs of canoes, sailing upriver in a cool plot I'd come up with so I could separate Ryan's character for 2 weeks, and then I didn't need to do that. So we're now sailing upriver as Lothar snaps awake in a cold sweat, having vivid dreams of a child being slaughtered by bestial creatures in the forest, as everyone makes their way upstream.
And a staff half covered in blood.
So it's you guys have been on the water for at this point several days. The way the trip goes is everyone's been more or less sort of sticking to themselves at night. The canoes sort of make landfall, and everyone camps for the evening before carrying on. And I am absolutely fucking useless and didn't write down the name of the Isla, who runs the canoe, pulls over, and everyone spends the night on shore and on camp, and then carries on. This has been going on for several days. During this time, has anyone in the party been up to anything in particular, or has anyone I want to get an idea, like paint an image for us as to how the party spend their time whilst rowing upriver north.
Lothar would just be keeping to himself, reading this book that he got way back when we were in the barbarian village, that's all about fortifying the mind against intrusion, fortifying the sort of willpower of an individual. And that's just mainly what he's been spending his time on, which is essentially him picking up the steadfast ability. But that's the law justification. He's reading like an Automagica book on mental fortification and noting the similarities it has with a lot of the church's dogma, but weirdly different. But that takes a couple of days.
Okay. All right. What about everybody else? Anyone else been doing anything interesting while we're sailing north? Rowing north?
Well, Verm has been practicing this ritual, kind of mumbling under his breath. You hear him sometimes. He hasn't actually been performing the ritual, but you'll hear him mumbling some of the words here and there, the rhythms and whatnot. And aside from that, he's been taking account of his alchemical ingredients, his potions, taking stock, and studying up on that a bit more too, going through some old notes that he managed to pick up from Clavis as well.
Okay.
While sitting in the boat, while Lothar is busy reading his book, I'd be spending my time refining my skills on being able to quickly draw an arrow from my quiver on my back or the one on my hip if space permits, and getting it ready to knock and be able to shoot quickly. So it's just repetitive motions from the back to the bow to justify my increase in rapid fire.
And when that's not happening, she's watching on her mobile device scenes of Legolas in Lord of the Rings.
So what's this elephant they keep talking about?
Man,
I prefer Toriel.
Pentio missed the note or the memo that this river ride was going to be where we all practice and learn our skills. He doesn't learn anything new on this trip. Pentio will spend most of his time studying that amulet that he's been stuck with. I don't know, using his skills of lore mastery to sort of like analyze it and study it, take notes on it. He's sketched it out. Like he carries with him basically it's essentially his bestiary where he takes notes on all the things that we faced in his journal and stuff, where he just records notes about things that maybe he can sell later down the road. He's drawn several sketches of it and has tried to like theorize at its source and what it can do and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, it's an interesting sort of amulet. I've sort of put a bit of thought to how it looks like in my mind's eye anyway. It's like almost like a leather bag that's kind of vaguely shaped like a person, and you can feel when you squeeze it that inside there must be incense or herbs or hair or something. There's something quite granular inside it, and it's got sort of a few ornamentations hanging off it, bones and things, and it's sort of, but it's mostly, this looks like it's made out of leather and twine, and it's pretty crude, but there's something that just feels weird about it. Something that feels a bit different. So yeah, you guys make your way upstream for several days, and at night Isla and her crew across the other boats sort of pull in and they set up small camps, and they make sure you guys don't stray too far and everything sort of stays tidy as they make their way north. On the third day, the clouds overhead, which have been building for several days, start to pour down. To the north of you, you've seen a wall of black. Like when you see storm clouds on the horizon just making their way towards you. You've been seeing this coming for a few days, and for the last day or so, you've had that smell that comes before a rain, where you've all been able to sort of taste the moisture in the air, and then it's almost with relief that the rain starts and you can sort of get it over and done with. And the rain really starts pelting down. This goes on for the majority of the day. Isla, leading the three boats, starts to get a bit anxious, and sort of around about the middle of the day, she's looking for a place to pull the boats over. Around you, you can see that the river is swelling, and things are getting a wee bit concerning. Knowing how quickly rivers here can flood, there's a general sort of concerted effort to begin rowing towards a patch along the coast where one could bring the boats up. Unfortunately, the Davokar being as full of vines and trees as it is, it's hard to do so. And whilst navigating her way through some sort of newly forming rapids, a surge flows downriver from the north, and everyone is sort of yelled at to hold on for their life. This surge smashes into your canoes. It's not like necessarily a wave, but it's like a swelling. The river visibly grows ahead of you and sort of washes through and smashes into the canoes. At this point, it occurs to me that we've never discussed with you all whether or not you can swim, have we? No.
I don't think it's come up.
Okay. Right. So, your canoes are being smashed by water. I need to know what efforts you're individually taking to secure yourselves. There's no guarantee that your canoes will or will not get knocked over or anything like that, but it'd be good to have an idea of what you're all individually doing, and then we'll decide whether or not that has an impact on what comes next. So we'll go clockwise around the circle again. So we'll start with Lothar. Lothar, for those who... Lothar's in the front boat with Isla and Siofin, and then in the middle boat there is a couple of people, NPCs, alongside Pentio, and that's the rear boat, sorry. Middle boat is Verm and Vildsvin, his boar, as well as one of the crew. So we'll start with the front boat. So we'll go, Sean. What's Lothar doing?
I think Lothar would, presuming these canoes have like handholds and a little bit of rigging and rope, he'd just start like lashing his arms and legs and like trying to position himself in a way that he's moving with the boat. He's not against the motion of the boat, right? Like, so he's bracing his legs up against the seat in front of him, grabbing like a rope and sort of lashing his arm around it and grabbing something solid attached to the boat and grabbing hold and trying to like just move with the boat.
Okay. What's of Siofin?
She is essentially doing the same thing, holding on to whatever she can to maintain her balance, going with the flow of the boat, not lashing herself to the boat like her other crew member on board.
Okay.
Yeah, just riding it out, seeing what's coming. Being in the front boat, we have a good view of what's coming in front of us, so we're bracing for impact.
Okay. And then we have Verm in the middle boat and Vildsvin. What are the two of you doing?
Verm is frantically trying to like scrambling the last bits of his ingredients up back into his bag and his satchel, and that's his largest concern. And when he gets them in his satchel, he closes it and clutches it close to himself, almost in a fetal position around it, more concerned about that than perhaps going overboard. So he's not securing himself to the boat so much as he's securing all of his belongings to his chest. And Vildsvin's just, he's freaked the hell out. He doesn't know what to do. So he's
Okay.
scared.
Okay. Like a good pig. And what of Pentio?
So Pentio's he's not by himself, right? He has companions in his boat and NPCs.
Yeah, there's NPCs in the boat with you. Not named though. Take from
Sure.
what you will.
Okay. Well, I'm going to need their names, their histories, all that stuff, because they're now Pentio's best friends. As literally he hooks the arm of one of them and with his other hand grabs onto the boat and sort of shouts to be heard over the storm for them not to panic and to hang on, stay with the boat, and we'll get through it.
Okay. Cool. All right. And here's the question I need to know from Pentio specifically. Is Pentio wearing his armor?
Nah. He's got it like on his back. Or he has everything on his backpack.
Okay.
He would not canoe in full plate.
Okay. All right.
But he's wearing his backpack, yes.
Okay. Cool. So as you're sailing, the crews of these canoes, imagine like Native American canoes, sort of, long, quite wide, and they've been made out of hides and things. and they're quite good. Before we carry on, though, all those of you who are watching, we're about to do a giveaway because we hit 5 subs. I believe we're giving away some dice from Tabletop Loot because they're fucking cool. So the competition will begin now or shortly, and to enter, just type !loot, and it'll go for 5 minutes, and after that 5 minutes, we'll do a giveaway. Yeah, there you go. The bot and chat is all on it. So go type loot, win some dice. It's cool. Do it. And there's only 20 something of you watching, so that's easy to get free shit.
Pretty good odds.
Yeah, pretty good odds. I've won on a encounter roleplay thing like this before.
It's rolling a d20. It's perfect.
So,
Nerd.
They're yelling amongst the canoes, throwing a rope as best they can to sort of link them all together. Now, because I don't roll in this game, I'm going to have all of you roll for the NPCs which are currently steering your boats as they prepare to get hit by the bulk of this wave. So we've already got the 2 people we know are rolling for the back 2 boats. Who's rolling for the front boat, Sean or Charlotte?
I'll roll for the front.
Okay. Could you, Luke, Ryan, please roll d20s? I know what you guys need to roll. Better than that, for the most part.
You want to roll?
Just once. So, luckily,
Good start, guys.
For the 2 at the front, Isla is, she's a master at this. This is what she does. And she's able to sort of right the boat and get front on with the surge that's sort of coming. It's a bit awkward because it's coming around the corner of the river. There's a bit of a bend in front of you, so you sort of have to turn into the bend. The 2 boats behind her, though, they get caught at a bit of a screwed up angle, and they get smacked into as this water comes flying downstream and quite literally rocks the boat. So could I please have for Verm, Vildsvin, and Ryan a roll of, we'll say quick is the most fitting in these circumstances, I think.
Okay, I'll do Verm first. It's good. And Vildsvin second. It still beats Vildsvin's quick, so they both pass.
Both pass. All of you pass. So yeah, the water smashes into the boats and really throws them around. But luckily, everyone's quick to sort of get a hold on, and you sort of lean into the current so your boats aren't turned over. And the current sort of snaps the boats in line because the rope going between them. So they're now effectively acting as like a single sort of tethered entity at this point, and desperately trying to get across the swell. We have our crews trying to make the way across. Could I each have the 3 of you who rolled d20s earlier roll them again? And this is just to see how successfully you get across the water. Try not to roll anything catastrophically bad.
Oh,
okay. I'm going to say that critical success from Yogg actually saves the failure from Pentio. So they're sailing their way across, you're rowing heavily. They start throwing spear oars at you guys, and everyone's paddling. And at one point, the rear canoe starts to topple. Pentio, as best as he can, is trying to balance it out, but he feels it going past that tipping point, and then someone from the boat ahead of them yanks on the rope and sort of rights them, probably unintentionally, but the boat is righted, and you quickly make your way to shore. As you pull the canoes up out, the crews are all amongst themselves. They're concerned. They're talking about how much of a lucky sort of stroke of luck you had, considering how dangerous that situation was. Around you, the Davokar keeps rising. There is a heavy torrent upstream, and this flood's significant. The boats have seen better days. The rear boat in particular has taken a bit of a beating. It's quite hammered, and the crew is talking about how it might be in their interest to carry on foot for the next day towards Whitewater, upstream. Isla, exasperated by all of this, asks you guys which you'd prefer. Would you prefer to wait, repair the boats, and row up in a couple of days' time once the weather is cleared, or the next day set off north to Whitewater and carry on foot from here?
Are we
Would it
talking
just
about
be us
abandoning
four?
the boats?
Sorry, say again. You both spoke over each other.
Go ahead.
Or are we talking about just abandoning the boats?
No, they would leave some of the crews here with them. And like basically 3 of them would stay with the boats and the others would head off towards Whitewater to go get supplies and things to come back and do a proper job fixing them, as opposed to sort of just making do on the shores.
Pentio
Well,
leans towards staying.
we do not have a very good track record of getting off the boats and traveling through the Davokar, so I think that if we stay with the boats, I think would be best.
Yeah, Lothar read my mind.
We don't have a good track record for anything.
Well, I think you do not have a very good track record for anything. I think we have a better record.
And we got lost thanks to Pentio and Chauvin and Lothar. A lot of you are incapable.
Oh, okay. We'll see you in Whitewater then. I guess you're going on foot, alone.
I'd prefer not to travel alone either.
Okay.
Good thing you got your pig.
But you wouldn't be alone. You would have the spirits with you.
They are better company than a lot of you, that is for certain.
Well, there we go. See you later. See you at Whitewater then.
Oh, well, hold on. We have a job to do together. We can't forget our responsibility.
I see how
I think
it
at this point the whole party's just smirking at him.
like Penchi actually laughs at that. Like Wendy's like, "Oh, well, hold on."
Whoa! Settle down, guys.
Yeah, I think staying is probably our best bet. If we're leaving people anyways, Pentio wouldn't want to abandon them. Safety in numbers and all that.
Cool. Before we carry on, congratulations, Abstractual Play. You've won yourself a set of dice. I'm assuming the producer Drake will get in touch with you, or you get in touch with him, something like that. Just go message Drake. Go give him a shout, and he'll sort you out. If you guys want to win some more dice, get retweeting. If we hit 20 retweets, we give out another set. Always keen to give away some free shit, so do it. There he is, Abstractual Play in chat. Good on you, mate. Yeah, cool. So you guys are staying with the dice, yeah? That's the plan?
Yep.
With the dice, the boats?
Boats. Yep.
Fuck. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we know what
so
you
much.
mean.
It's great. It's great. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
man. Yeah. Staying with the boats. Okay. So they send off 2 of the crew. Isla stays to see about repairing the boats, and 2 of the other crew members make their way off. Several days go by, and the other crew don't come back. Isla is doing her job of fixing the boats, and over this period, what are you guys up to? Are you doing anything in particular whilst the crew of these boats are set about fixing them? They're starting to ration their food. They didn't bring enough for this sort of an unexpected stop and everything. So, yeah.
How long would the crew that were going out into the surroundings? How long were they supposed to be gone for? Like, how much food did they take with them? Like a day's worth of food?
Yeah, they took a couple of days, basically. The idea was Whitewater is about a day's walk away, maybe slightly more, depending on what you find in the forest. You're not following a path, but they expect to walk at like a slightly slower speed than ride. So ride on the boats. So they'd have expected them back sort of on the 3rd or 4th day, realistically, unless something happened to them along the way. Which,
Okay.
I mean, it's the Davokar. So
Yeah, I was wondering if we were expecting them to be back by now.
they'll be coming back soon. They've sort of passed that initial they should be back, but they haven't been gone so long that you're more worried than you already would be knowing people are walking through the Davokar forest.
Right. Okay. I think Lothar would just be watching the canoe repairs because he hasn't seen this mode of transport before. So I'm guessing that there's like quite a lot of having to go get some trees from nearby and like cutting them down and things. And this is all new to him, so he's just more interested in the process that they're using than anything else. He'd be pestering them with asking questions,
The hides are actually mostly the boat's mostly hide. So whilst they're lashing some of the wooden sort of skeleton, they're actually stitching up damages to where the hides are stitched together, and then they're gathering gum from trees around and sort of chewing it up so it's pliable, and then sticking it over the stitches to waterproof it. So there's lots of that going on. They have extra hides which they sort of sew on as patches and then waterproof with the gum, and it's a bit of a process, but you just see them really sort of lots of sewing, lots of sitting there chewing at this quite weird smelling gum and sort of sticking it on. So it's not quite as you may have seen shipwrights crafting wooden boats in Ambria where there's a lot more sort of careful sort of cutting and bending of wood and soaking it in water. There's not very much of that. It's more textiles than it is carpentry.
It's less engineering and more like artisan craft work sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Which it strikes you as quite clever, given that they're able to be here literally in the middle of nowhere and they can still repair their boats, whereas an Amberang crew would have to really be doing a jury-rigged job to carry on because they don't have the tools required to do a big job. What about the rest of you?
So Pensio, he'd kit up and do his sort of normal, like, we're in the Davokar, anything can kill us at any moment. But he also offers to help with the boat repairs by maybe perhaps leveraging alchemy and sort of creating some a rough pitch to help them fill some of the gaps, like they're using the gum. Basically using the resin from the trees, charcoal from a wood fire, and then grinding it up and making a sort of pitchy gum to help patch holes.
Oh, they definitely 100% are down for any and all help. So they fully leverage any help you offer. And definitely that goes away into making a better job of repairing the boats. What of Siofin? What's she doing?
I would be essentially on sentry duty, just wandering around the build site, making sure nothing's getting too close to us. And while I'm doing that, keep my eye open with my bushcraft skill to try and get as much food gathered up as we can to make our current stores last as long as possible.
Okay, well, because you're not moving through the forest, that's part of the bushcraft skill, is that you can gather a fair bit. So that's not a problem. You're actually able to keep everyone more or less supplied. And lastly, Voom. What does Voom do in all of this?
So nearby the bank, is there any kind of plant life to forage through, whether it be for food, blackroot, or alchemy?
Oh, yeah, you're in the forest. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the other thing he'd be concerned about is, for one, is blackroot, which I think he only has 2 left of. Well, we've been on the boat for days as well, so it's dangerous to
Clevis would have definitely topped up your supply. He is the man for the blackroot, so
okay,
you'd have a few weeks worth. Yeah,
he's your dealer.
Good. Oh, that's reassuring. He'd still he'd look through his supply satchel, make sure everything is intact. He didn't lose anything during the huffle and scuff of the boat. But he wants to go take a look to see if there's anything interesting alchemically, as opposed to actually helping with the boat, even though he is now officially a better alchemist than Pentio, who's helping with the boat using alchemy.
Yeah, but Pentio is helpful. Verma's not helpful. So.
Is there any particular elixir you're trying to make or anything like that?
Actually, I'm interested in Wild Chew and War Paint. Mostly to give to Shofin, not for myself, but I think they'd be interesting to give to her.
When they're both level 2s, are they? Both level, like adept level.
Let me have a look. I think. Let me have a quick look. Wild
novice.
Chew is level 1, and War Paint is novice, so they're both novice.
Okay. Yeah. Well, look. If you roll, you're here for 3 days. So roll 3 cunning tests, and each one that you pass, you get enough ingredients to make any of those, any one of those things.
Great.
Because they're novice, don't you roll like D4 to see how many doses you make? You get to
Yep.
a lot. Oof, that was almost.
If we're here for 3 days, am I doing this in would it be fair for me to use my witch circle for this or no?
I mean, yeah, if you want.
Okay, well, it gives me the
fine.
advantage roll. So all right, so I'm gonna roll 6 times. I assume that second one. Okay, then here's the last one.
The second one's fine.
Okay.
Is a 9 pass?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got 2 of them. So roll 2 d4s, and you've made that much supplies of each.
All right,
There
3
you go.
Wild Chew, 3 War Paint. Dope.
Cool. What do they do exactly?
Nope.
Just to remind me.
Yeah, what does Warpaint do?
Warpaint's awesome.
okay.
I actually have some.
Oh, cool.
War Paint.
This will be fun.
Good thing you've used it.
Yeah, I've never really had the opportunity. It's been sitting in my pocket for a while. You can apply it. It either gives you +1 to strength or quickness for a scene.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
That's cool.
And Wild Chew is interesting as well. It 1 dose of Wild Chew will remove 2 points in Discreet, Cunning, and Resolute, and transfer them to Quick, Strong, and Accurate for the rest of the scene. So you lose 2 in those 3 and gain 2 in your more combat focus sets.
And I think that one is potentially addictive.
It's potentially addictive as well, but Bram does not reveal that to Jofin when he approaches her with some of it.
Cool. And if you put on War Paint, you have to act out applying War Paint. Just like in the movies, it's like this.
This is how Pentio does it. He puts it on his hand and just does one of these.
To be honest, I have been debating the idea of wearing War Paint to the stream, so that might be a thing.
Well, that's the thing. Like every time you apply War Paint, Jofin, it's got to be I'm applying the War Paint. You get out the War Paint, you start putting it on yourself.
Yeah.
Just hand and paint,
Yeah,
easy.
Cool. So you guys are up to all this sort of stuff, and day 3 comes and goes. The boats are more or less fixed. They're not as well fixed as they would be if they were able to bring back some fresh supplies and stuff. They sent them away to go get sort of other various bits and pieces, sort of nails and things, also some fresh hides, which have been cured, because whilst Shofin's been out and maybe got a small bit of game or whatever, it hasn't had a chance to be cured and waterproofed and all that fully, so it's not ideal. So there's a bit of sort of waiting. The boats are good enough. The weather is still quite rough, but at least they're not in immediate danger of sinking, and they should get you through a day to get to town, assuming Fantasy Grounds plays nice. But you're sort of sitting at this place where it's like, we're ready to go, but now do we leave and the others get stuck? So the decision's made to wait 2 more days. So at this point, they're doing everything they can to sort of try and do more on the boats, but you know what it's like when you're around some people where they're doing work for the sake of doing work. They're not really achieving anything. They're just being a bit finicky.
An office job.
Yeah.
Like a standard office job.
It's kind of like that. So the boats are as good as they're going to get, and they want everyone to have their stuff packed up, ready to go. So if the others come back, they can jump in the boat straight away. So not much is really getting done, and
it's the
this
equivalent
goes
of
on.
sitting in the car, tooting your horn while the other person's inside grabbing their stuff. Like, come on, we gotta go. Beep 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 beep.
Yeah. So you sort of sit there, ready to go. and one day goes, and another day goes, and at this point, we're up to 6 days since we've seen the other two. Isla, being the staunch captain that she is, makes the executive decision that sitting here in the Davokar waiting for some predator to find you all is less useful to them as going up to Whitewater and hoping that they come there. They know that the crew members, if they're not already in Whitewater, that's where they'd know to go at this point. So the decision is made that everyone's going to load up and make their way up the swollen river, through the strong currents, to Whitewater. So, yet again, I'll just have a roll from those of you who were rolling for the boats earlier, D20, just to see how well these boats survive the journey. Good enough. That'll do. So it's arduous. All of you are doing everything you can to help, especially down to the crew. There's lots of everyone's involved. You're rowing. It's one of the hardest things you've had to do. You're working your way upstream. The rapids are smashing all around you. The current's strong. There's branches and things flowing down. If you've ever seen a swollen river, you know what I'm talking about. The water's filthy. There's all sorts of detritus.
Big river after a storm. There's like branches. There's rocks. There's carcasses of dead animals.
Yeah,
the eddies are weird. It's all awkward.
It's hard work, but you do it. There's a few times where small leaks spring in some of the boats, but you do your best to deal with them, and you keep rowing, and eventually you approach what you assume is Whitewater. You assume this because here the river widens drastically, and you assume must get much more shallow because the water here is far more aggressive. And Whitewater, the village, the jetty that sort of sits astride the river, appears to be the last sort of point where a boat could sail to before having to stop as the Whitewater Rapids take over for the remainder of the river heading north. Although due to the swollen nature of the river, it's just crashing water everywhere. It's a borderline sort of waterfall ahead of you. But luckily, you don't need to cross it because the village is just short of this natural barrier on the river. Isla leads you over, and the rain is still coming down. It's late in the day, and due to the heavy cloud cover, it's actually quite dark. There's just upshore, with the water sort of lapping up the banks and around the base of this hut, is a hut. A light illuminates the only window facing towards the water, and with a door off to its side. The sound of rain raging down on these torrents of water, which is just crashing through the rocks, is quite deafening, and you're having to actually yell at one another to sort of get your boats up. The jetty here is barely level with the water. It's swollen up to its point. Normally, if you're at water level, there'd be several feet up to get to the water. At this point, the jetty is just at water level. So you sort of go up, you grab a hold of it, and you all do your best to sort of pull the canoes up onto land and get them away from the raging water. Isla goes across and starts yelling at the hut and banging for help, and soon the door opens. Looking from the door is a small goblin, and behind him, looking up above him, is a large ogre. These two, both are able to sort of poke their heads out the doors, see all the work everyone's doing as they're being battered by the terrain, the wind and the rain, and reluctantly wrap themselves up in canvas sort of cloaks and come out and do what they can to pull everything ashore and unload what supplies survived the journey into this little hut, beyond which you can see what looks like almost a bog. There's like this trodden peaty marshland, and rising up out of it, you can see structures built up on stilts all around a circle around this bog. The bog is swollen itself with this rain, and all around it, several sort of a couple of meters high in parts, is wooden walkways built up around it, upon which you can see small little huts, lights illuminating the windows and smoke curling up from the chimneys. And this village forms almost a circle around the center of this bog, and at its head is a large hall, which it takes you a moment to realize is actually an overturned boat, a boat of Ambrian design. More actually the traditional boats that were used in Alberator, which looks almost like a Viking longship, and it's been turned upside down to form the roof of a hall, which is raised up on stilts over top of this bog. As you come up, and sort of everything's pulled into this small hut, Isla says, "The crew's not been seen. We are going to have to stay here for a few days. This is Whitewater, where you're wanting to come. I'd suggest maybe you wait this weather out before moving on. You should be able to find accommodation at the tavern where they all drink. It's not much of a tavern, really. It's a house that has beer in the front room, but they should be able to put you up somewhere."
Thank you for the advice, Isla. I think we would all have wanted to avoid being in the Davokar in this weather. It's most unpleasant at the best of times. And I sort of also saying that ogre and goblin helped pull the boats out. I'm just gonna give each of them a shilling, just out of thanks, I guess.
The ogre sort of looks at the shilling before handing it to the goblin, who quickly ferrets it away amongst the stuff.
Yes, thank you. Yes. You go get drink. I meet you soon. Yes, we have drink together.
I just sort of nod and just look at the rest of the party and see if they're going to follow me to the rest of Whitewater proper, or if they want to say anything else to Isla before we head off.
Before Pentio takes off, he thanks Isla for her assistance and then offers condolences for her lost crew.
Yeah, she's as you can imagine, quite so quiet and sort of stoic in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is part of living in the Davokar, but she thanks you for your kind words anyway, and she's confident they'll turn up. They'll turn up somewhere. They always do, she says. And she says she'll be heading off and finding a place to stay soon as well.
Cool. And then Pentio heads off towards the drinking establishment.
Yeah, Verm doesn't have much to add. He does. You see him turn, face masked, looking toward that ogre. You imagine lustfully as he stares with a crooked neck for a few moments before looking at your backs, going toward the tavern, feeling reluctant after the last time he was in a civilized tavern, but begrudgingly he'll follow.
Oh, Verm, you are welcome to stay in the bog if you want. I think it would probably improve your smell.
Well, I have to make two shit decisions, and I would choose to stay amongst the people here, as horrid as they are, than to stay out there, whatever may lurk beyond those trees.
Yes,
You
well,
do
perhaps
like
this
us.
time do not take the mask off.
I didn't intend to last time, Lothar. And where were you when that happened? Getting
Well, I
drunk
was
on
the one-
gas.
No, I was the one that advocated a certain course of actions that was avoided. If you had followed my advice, then it wouldn't have been a problem.
Pretty sure
I
you were
don't
trying to take a
recall.
nap.
I think you are misremembering these things, Pentio. That slow brain of yours works at a very, very glacial pace.
Pretty sure you were taking a nap.
Yeah, if I recall, I had to call you down from the room.
So
Yes, and then you...
stupid?
Yes, I did just call you stupid. Because you avoid my advice when my advice is good. Anyway, that is a matter from the past. This time we will do things differently, yes. So, to the tavern.
We still do things differently, so we'll do exactly the same thing.
We will roll badly, like last time.
The goblin gives you some instructions on how to find it, and you follow them. You make your way inland, up into Whitewater, and you walk up onto these gantries that's all around. Whitewater's built on a bog, but it's raised up on these stilt-like legs and is over the top of the bog. The center of it is more or less completely sort of left open, and you can see there's a big pond in here, which you assume must be harvested for peat or water of fish or something. But the village is built around this pond in like a sort of a crescent moon shape. You're making your way up one of these points of the moon towards a house that's only slightly larger than the rest. And when you walk in, you realize Tavern was drastically overselling it. It is literally a house, probably of whoever the local brewer is, and the front room of which has been set up with a couple of kegs. That is it. In here, you have said brewer, a rotund man with a smell of week-old stale sweat and a large beard with a balding head, and his wife, the description of which much matches her as well, as she draws drafts of beer from one of the kegs and hands it to the handful of locals who sit around the fireplace, clearing out pipes and talking amongst themselves. No jolly music, no entertainment or anything like that. Just a room with maybe half a dozen people in it, seated haphazardly around the room, drinking the one beer that they offer for sale. And that's more or less it. When you walk in, every set of eyes in the room turns to regard you, as you realize that you're the only people in this room who is not on a first name basis with everybody else in here.
Just walked into a room full of regulars. It's pretty standard, for a small village. You expect that. That's not unusual. That's not off-putting.
It's so awkward, though.
No, it's totally fine. Those stairs are always, like, welcoming.
The man who's sort of he's just in the process of stacking a keg, puts the keg down and turns around. You all right?
Pretty poor weather out there.
Wait, what did Lothar say?
I just said that it's pretty poor weather out there. Oh. When in doubt, talk about the weather.
When in doubt, talk about the weather. Yeah,
he sort of looks out the window and goes, yeah, it's bloody shit. You want a beer?
Or several, please.
We have beer.
Well,
all the beer you could drink. And he sort of slaps the keg. Brought it myself.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Great. Let's have a drink.
Wonderful choice.
One for each of us, please.
He draws you all up a beer and sort of hands it over, and just sort of basic sort of wooden mugs. It's pretty shit. It's
I have an image. It's literally he's just gone out into the bog and scooped up some water, and then he's put it in a cup and he's like, "Here you go."
Back in medieval times, a lot of water wasn't necessarily safe to drink, especially if you lived in this sort of environment. Yeah, so you'd
had
often
to brew
have
it like this.
Exactly. So this is one of those situations. So it's not necessarily. I mean, he's not a master brewer. He's not your flannel shirt wearing, craft brewer. He's a guy who makes stuff that people can drink, and he sells it for fuck all. So you each get a drink, and it only costs you a copper each. But it's drinkable. It's not great. It's cloudy. It's not particularly well filtered. It tastes just like a draft. I'm thinking there's a local draft called Double Brown. If you can imagine that, it's basically that. But yeah, it's just think of the cheapest, nastiest cheap beer you've got, and that's basically what you're drinking. But like a thicker quality to it because it hasn't been well filtered.
There's sedimentation at the bottom.
Yeah, there's something coming through that shouldn't be coming through, but it's a drink. After regarding you for a moment, everyone else in the room sort of goes back to their conversations. The general feel you get from the room, hearing people talk amongst themselves, to the barbarians, they sound a bit different, but to you Ambrians, you recognize their accents as being very similar to the old country. And you realize that these guys must be free settlers who came north before the rest of Ambria followed. And it has a bit of an old country feel to it. And they're all talking about how, the weather has put a stop to their plans around the solstice. And you realize that they're talking about a midwinter festival. And those of you with Lawmaster would
that's me.
Would be aware that you are rapidly approaching, as in several days away, approaching the winter solstice. You're approaching sort of the middle of the year, and it's quite common in the old faiths and also barbarian faiths to have a festival around this time, as the days are only going to get longer and get better.
I'm sure there's a Prios thing to do with that too, right?
Almost certainly there will be something, yeah.
There's some sort of observance that must happen.
Don't you try and subvert this.
Prios is the best god, so,
You have to make up the holiday right now. Go.
Whatever, I'll think about it.
How do we pronounce that?
I'll think about it. I don't know.
Yeah, so that seems to be the talk. What do you guys do amongst all of this?
I mean, there's no conversation about weird occurrences other than the storm, I guess. Like, no one's saying, oh, XYZ went off and hasn't been back in a while. We think there might be something out. Because we're going to be leaving from this location going somewhere else. So Lothar would want to know if there's any rumors, because there's always rumors, about things out in that direction that they'd be heading, which I think is upriver.
Yeah, you're going inland, but along from the river. I tell you what, roll are you just trying to observe other people talking, or are you wanting to get involved in conversation?
I mean, Lothar would get involved in conversation. He wouldn't worry him too much.
In that case, roll persuasive. Explain to me how it is you're trying to talk these guys around. Like, what's your introduction to what's happening? How are you doing this?
So I think that Lothar would, first he's talking about the common things like, Zaveza and all that, and then he'd say, what have you been up to in these parts recently, and what's the news we are first in this area we have ever been, and then he'd just progress along, like guiding the conversation towards a topic that he's most interested in, which is in the direction that they're going. If there's anyone that ranges out in that direction. What do they know of the lay of the land and what's been happening and that sort of thing? It wouldn't strike anyone as particularly like directed, but to Lothar, he's making it touch on the things that he wants.
Okay, roll persuasive.
Yep.
Did that pass?
Yep. Persuasive's 13.
Yeah, so you're talking to them, and yeah, they all talk about the weather. They're all kind of annoyed because around the solstice, they normally get a week off when no one's expected to work. They sort of build everything up, and they get to enjoy it. But with this weather being what it is, there's only so much that they can really do, and they're spending a lot of time sitting around with their fingers up their ass and not getting much done. As you start saying, you need to head north and you want to talk to somebody around, one of them's like, Haas the hunter. He's the one to talk to. He's off gathering food for the feast tomorrow. But when he gets back, he'd let you know what he wants. Acts as a guide sometimes. Good one to talk to.
That's very good information. Thank you very much. How about I get you another beer? And I'll just...
Yeah, the locals like you if you're buying them beers.
Yep.
Any free beer is a good beer in the locals' eyes. So
it's cheap beer too. Don't give a crap.
Yeah. Oh, it is cheap in more ways than one. So, yeah, that's not a problem. You're able to you're like they sort of get to know you, and they're happy drinking with you and getting you involved in what's going on. What's everyone else doing while this is going on?
Pentio will ask the bartender from before about accommodations for the group. I imagine we'll probably stay a day or two, at least maybe hopefully till the rain ends.
Yeah, he explains that there is a hut next to the bar that they can rent out as need be. They mostly use it for storage. It's got lots of kegs in it, but it's dry, and they can for $1 a day they'll put you all up in it.
All right. Benji he'll go ahead and he'll rent it out for 3 days. He'll give him 3 shillings to start.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
For that.
I'll be beside Pentio while he's asking about the accommodations, and I'll follow up with what do we have in the local area for restocking, like a general store of sorts.
Yeah, he'd say that there's a place where you can go and get some bits and pieces. This place here is not exactly a major stop along any sort of routes, but anything you want to buy within reason that you could expect to find at a basic place, people would be willing to trade for. The coins they're using seem to be a mixture of current and old Ambrian currency. Most of the locals don't seem to trade in currency anyway. They seem to have sort of a tab or a trade process going on, but they'd be willing to. Yeah, if you want to buy stuff, you can buy it, but you obviously will be spending more than usual because you're in the middle of the wops.
Unless it's the beer, in which case you're spending less than usual.
Yeah, because they just make that from the bog immediately below it. Just bucket up the water.
Can we trade with beer?
I imagine it's the sort of really small community where there's not even 20 families, right? Like there might be 40 people, but there's not 20 families. And so they're all just they pull the service, right? Like sort of like those barbarian villages do, right? Where this person does this thing, so they do it for free. This person does that thing, so they do it for free, because they all need a trade. It's like whenever you're out in a farming agricultural community, it's still that way today. It's like, oh, I need to go do this thing. He's got that equipment on the tractor. I have this thing on the tractor, so I will do this thing for him and he will do this thing for me. It's that sort of thing.
Yeah, but like they are willing to, adventurers and things, treasure hunters do come through, so they will take the money because then they use it to buy supplies from Isla and the likes who come up north. So there are they're willing to sell you stuff. There's just not a huge supply. Anything beyond basic common items, you're probably not going to find, and you're going to be spending 50% more than usual in the price in the book. But they will sell you whatever you want, basically. There are exceptions. Stuff that is easy to find out here is food. They're a community that worships an element of one of the old gods called the Trapper. This would become obvious to Pentio in particular quite early on, although Verm and Siofin will also notice some of the iconography that are around. The Trapper is like one of the young gods, is an element of one of the young gods, known as the Pathfinder. The Pathfinder, Lothar would have to pass a intellect check or a cunning check -5 to see if he recognizes this. The Pathfinder is actually illegal to worship in Ambria on account of he recognizes it.
I needed a 2 or a 1 to know that, but I got a 1.
Yeah.
I know everything.
It's the Pathfinder. The reason for it is because the Church of Prios doesn't like the idea of another god being the supplier and the giver for everything. But when it comes to the what they call the young gods, the previous religion of Alberator and also the barbarians, it was one of the most popular gods to worship. And you can tell that out here they clearly worship an aspect of the Pathfinder.
Yeah, Lothar doesn't
for sure.
give a shit.
So
Lothar's
that's quite common.
That's probably the kind of. I imagine the Church of Prios is like new church, right? Like because it's
Right.
Yes.
as an organization, it's relatively new. Whereas Lothar's got this
25
longer
years,
term
yeah.
thinking of like, well, maybe the other gods are actually saints under Prios or something like that, right? Like how a lot of
or just
religions do
Prios
that
by
sort of
another
thing.
name.
Well, yeah, it's like they're in service to Prios. Like a lot of Christianity does that sort of thing, right? Where it's like, he's an aspect. Your old religion is an aspect of the new religion. It's compatible. Don't worry. Come right over. You can still worship Pathfinder just as long as you know that Prios is above him. That sort of thing. So Lothar's a-okay with it.
Now, lastly, what's Verm up to amongst all of this? I feel like I should remind you guys that the reason you were coming to Whitewater is Hedler, the woman who you've been paid to find, mentioned this town as the last place she visited before she was captured in her letter. Just to jog everyone's memories.
And to jog my memory, the relation between that and the Twilight Thistle, was that a part of the same letter or was that just a separate letter?
She was seeking out the Twilight Thistle. It's because of her that you found out where she was going, because you were like, I want in on that. That's how it worked out.
Well, I think
I was figuring
having gotten these people deeper into their cups, having spent a few more Vortex, I guess, I would ask, so has there been any other large groups or expeditions that have come through here?
Yeah, they answer in the positive. They're like, groups come through looking for treasure and things quite often. It seems to be one every month or two will pass through. Don't say anything specific about the woman you're looking for. She's been gone for like quite a while at this point, months and months at this point.
Yeah, at that point, hearing the affirmative, I'd be like, oh, so perhaps you would have seen someone that I have worked with in the past, and I would describe her. She was going on an expedition out this way, but have not seen her in a very long time, and have not heard back from her. I wonder if you perhaps would know of her fate.
Roll a persuade and add +3.
Target number 16.
They say,
Can't roll good.
They sit there like, well, I don't know. You might want to ask Haas. He gives most people the advice. Or maybe go ask at the main wall. They might know. They normally text people passing through.
That's good information to have.
But
And then
yeah,
I
don't
would
really
like
have much
quickly,
to offer.
and to quickly bury that, I would just go on to ask about other things, like what do they hunt around here? Like what is, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, just go on about how the trapper provides, and that they're well looked after here, and between the river and the swamp and the forest, they make do, and they enjoy their safety and security, and trapper be praised. Basically, they're all quite pious. So, what was Vern doing?
During that time, Verm has, since he got here, been mean mugging people from beneath his mask. So they couldn't really tell he's been mean mugging, but he has been just peering from one face to the next, just to see who's looking at him and who he might identify as trouble, such as the last people that he ran into and then later dealt with, unbeknownst to everyone else. But once he hears Lothar start talking about this woman, and notices Lothar beating around the bush as well, he might come over and approach the same person and begin.
We're looking for
Fucking
someone
everything up.
who was after
everything up.
Twilight Thistle. A woman came through here. Have you heard of anyone like that?
Yeah, roll your persuade.
Good job, Verm.
No, that's not gonna make it.
What's your persuade?
That's like 6. Let me see. Sorry, that's 5. Sorry.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like I wouldn't, if I was to guess, I was gonna be like, yeah, that's probably his lowest stat. He's not a very sharp.
That's what I thought too. The guy sort of looks at you and sort of, no, I don't know. Anyone's been looking for that. And he seems a bit put off by you, like almost, when you've ever been in a public situation and someone you don't know comes over and is a bit too familiar, and you're just sort of you're trying to distance yourself, but you're being polite. That's kind of what's going on here.
Lothar shoots Verm the most disgusted look that he possibly can throw. Like he's just stepped in cow shit and had a seagull crap on his head at the same time, and it's all Verm's fault. That's the look Lothar gives Verm.
Ignoring that, Verm continues.
Well, surely you must have heard something. You've never heard of Twilight Thistle before. Apparently you live near some. You haven't heard tales, rumors, people coming through looking for it. What of the dead?
He sort of just looks at you, and he looks around at everyone else, and you can, as he looks around, everyone else in the room is sort of focusing on the strange guy in the mask, asking a lot of questions. And everyone's
At this
like,
point, Lothar just interjects and just goes, Verm, I think you are ruining the mood. Why don't you go bring your doom and gloom elsewhere? You are not helping matters.
Because it was what? In here, Lothar, rainbows and sunshine. It is doom and gloom everywhere. Look around. We are knee-deep in shit. And we must continue moving. We have delayed long enough.
Well, out you go into the bog. Sleep with this stink. You're bringing it in here. And I sort of just poo-poo him away. Like, go away, man. Fuck off.
So be it.
This is an area where you are the most useless things that you could be is to be around.
And perhaps you could use a few more drinks, Lothar. You act like quite the cunt when you're not drunk.
Pentio interjects at this point and says he mentions both Lothar and Verm, and I guess Shofin, if she's nearby, watching the shit show unfold, that they've secured the hut nearby, and perhaps now would be a good time to prepare our accommodations. Perhaps in a circle of some kind.
That couldn't have come sooner. Fine.
Verm will move toward Pentio.
Lothar buys another round of drinks.
So, are you guys going out to the hut now, or what's going on?
Well, Pentio doesn't have anything to offer towards this scene. He puts down an extra Orteg as a tip next to his untouched beer, and then he'll go investigate their hut that they've rented for the next 3 days.
Vern
As you leave
purposefully
the
knocks over a
untouched-
beer on the way out. By the way, sorry.
Whoops.
He's got a bone. He's just mad at people in civilization. So he's annoyed.
Sorry, not
And
not
is
you.
anyone- Is everyone else going out to this hut as well? Spending the night out there?
Yeah, when I see
Lothar
Pentio
would
start
go
to
eventually.
take off.
Yeah, this time we're gonna leave Lothar by himself in the tavern.
I don't have a mask that people want to see under.
Kind of
As,
do.
as everyone else
Actually-
leaves.
Actually,
yeah,
you do.
kind of, yeah. It's say that.
And
It's a different kind of.
and
I'm
you've got,
assuming,
like-
by the way,
you've
that
got, like-
Lothar is looking like a human at the moment, right?
Yep.
Okay.
covered
Um,
in like iconography from our god there, whose name I forget.
As the others leave, Lothar actually notices that Pentio's empty beer gets picked up off the bar and emptied back into the top of one of the kegs before they pocket the coins. And everyone sort of carries on. There's that awkward silence after Verm leaves, and then there's like a and some people sort of start some people sort of giggle and have a bit of a laugh, and there's like oof. And there's a lot of general
Lothar
comments.
to diffuse it, Lothar's like, he's like that every time he comes in. It's fine. He does not do people well. With a mask like that, you would understand why.
Yeah, they all sort of laugh and have a bit of a chuckle, and there's jokes made about the company you keep, and you don't get to choose your friends in the Davokar and all that sort of thing. After a while, it's as you're about to leave, the bartender sort of calls you across, and he's like, if he wants to know what he's talking about, no one here will know. They don't leave town. None of us leave town. The only one that leaves is us and his crew. There's a whole bunch of them. They do the hunting. We stay in town. You talk to that lot, otherwise you're wasting your time. You may as well be fucking spiders.
Well, I wouldn't want to be doing that, especially not out here. Have you seen the spiders out here? Oh.
No, Whitewater's awfully safe. No troubles
I
around
see.
here.
I think you chose a good spot. No spiders. Very good. Excellent.
No.
And
The
with that,
trapper
I-
protects.
Yes. And with that, I'll just like go out, head to the hut.
The hut's pretty basic. There's not much in there. Like as the guy said, it's full of kegs, mostly empty. There's a bit of some stuff that's fermenting out back, but it is a dry space. It is literally just a room. He came out and put a candle in it for you. So there's a candle. There's hay in the corner that you can use to make your own beds, and there's some old blankets laying around the place. That's about it. But it's shelter, and it's relatively cheap. You set up for the night, and all around you can hear the rain coming down. You can hear the sounds that you've become very familiar with, having traveled through a few swamps. The croaking of toads, the creaking of various insects and things as it gets dark. But obviously the big one is the sound of swamp life, amphibians croaking and grumbling away, sort of just constantly. The nighttime is not quiet or peaceful at all. Do you guys set a watch, or what do you do overnight?
Pentio sees no reason not or to change their operations. Like, sure, they're technically in civilization, but surrounded by strangers, they may as well be in the Davokar. So Pentio will suggest keeping to the regular watch.
I require Pentio to make a persuasion roll to see if he can sway me to help keep watch throughout the night.
He doesn't try that hard.
I do not keep watch.
I have a question. So during Verm's watch, I had harvested alchemical ingredients before and didn't actually use anything. I have one of those. I have candles in my inventory. I want to try to craft a poison candle during my watch. Is that something I can try to do?
Is that an item you've seen on the book?
It's in the book. Yeah, it's called a poison candle.
Go for it.
It's okay.
What does a poison candle do? Because I'm not familiar with it.
So it looks like a normal candle. When it's lit, the poisonous gas is released within. It becomes airborne. So everyone in the room or in the vicinity, the candle must burn for 1d4 turns before the candle is released. So someone could potentially light it, leave the room before it takes effect, and then it does 2 damage a turn to those who are poisoned. Not going to do anything bad with that. I just want to have it just for stuff.
Not gonna try and kill everybody in the party in their sleep.
Maybe I will send watch.
No, he can do that.
Beautiful.
That's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
that is fine. Just roll your cunning just to see if you succeed in doing it.
Okay.
That's all.
We wake up. Verm's poisoned himself.
That's good.
Cool. Yeah, you've made the candle.
I hope.
Yeah, you sort of melt down the wax and infuse it with these herbs, and then you reset it as a candle. Yeah, and you've now got this poisonous candle. Awesome. That's cool. I'm down with that. Next day comes. The rain is starting to clear. It's more of just like a haze at this point, or like one step up from fog, where it's definitely wet, but it's not like thick drops. You just go outside and get damp. And life is starting to pick up around the village. In front of the main sort of hall where the upturned boat is, in front of it, there's like a large, for want of a better term, veranda or a platform that's built out sort of out to the edge of the main pond, and on that they're setting up tables. These tables are just like a big tree that's been cut down and split down the middle, so you sit it upright with the flat bit facing up and you have a table, and they're putting down smaller logs for seats all along the length of it, and they're preparing for some sort of celebration, which you assume to be the festival that they've been talking about. It's relatively early in the morning. You have the whole day ahead of you. What is the task? So what is it that everyone's wanting to achieve today?
What's that chapter's
I
name?
suggest Haas, I think is Haas, and then perhaps we try and find out what happened to the parties that we are seeking to get a
I bet he
better
made it back.
understanding of where the field is. And perhaps from some more circumspect approach. And
I'd like
Let's
spending
try-
hours talking about the weather. You're not going to get anywhere doing that.
well,
Better to get to the point and get to move on.
Why don't you go out into the wider surroundings and collect some herbs or something? Some things you are good at. People do not agree with you. And yes, most people don't agree with you.
That's an interesting way to put it, Lothar. Fine. I'll make myself useful elsewhere.
Lothar grins in triumph.
Well, if you get into trouble, run. You know where to find us. We're going to try to find Haas, I think. Someone said he should be back today. He seems like the most straightforward way of finding where we need to go.
Vern would start making his way out of town, but while he's doing that, he's kind of mumbling under his breath,
Not useful. Can't do anything right, can he? I'll show that Lothar.
and as he's walking by, he kind of angrily like, "Oh, Vern said, yeah."
It's what he heard. It's what he heard. It's not what was said, but it's what he heard.
As he's leaving town, would there be some kind of like this peasant vagrant, anything like that along the street somewhere?
They're not really like it's all gantries and it's all highly visible. to get, like you sort of have to go wander off between some of the buildings before you find a set of stairs or like a ramp leading down out of the village into the forest. And as you do, there are a couple of children playing, skipping stones across one of the ponds.
Oh, children, that's perfect. So Zorm's walking by, like muttering,
And that Lothar will not show him what's what.
he walks by one of the children and he'll like shout at them like,
You're making a disturbance, you rodents.
and he'll reach out and he'll reach like one by the hair.
Like, why don't you make yourself useful elsewhere?
And as he yells at the child, he tugs at a bit of the hair and pulls out a little tuft of the child's hair.
Fucking witches, man.
Yeah, the kid grabs his head and starts crying. He's the younger of the two. He starts crying, and the older one sort of throws his rock that he was about to skip along the pond, like towards you, and then runs off with his little brother to go get their mum as you're walking away with a tuft of dirty blonde hair in your hand from this poor innocent little boy that you decided to torture.
That's how you put him there. I asked for a vagrant or something. You put little children in front of me. It's not my fault.
Yeah, why would he ever give you something exactly as you want? He's gonna be like, do you really want to do this to a child? And your character's like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking do this to a child.
Oh, even better. Yeah, so he'll make his way to the edge of the forest after that, and then once he finds somewhere nice, he's going to set up a witch circle, maybe pick a couple herbs, and then he'll later on possess that child to spy on the rest of the party and go find out what they're doing. So that'll be the plan for now, but we can cut that to that later because it's going to take some time.
We can cut to that later. Okay. So, everyone else, what are we doing?
I think we're heading to the big upturned ship, right? That's the most likely place to find the
Inquiring after
trapper.
Haas.
Haas! Where is Haas?
Yeah, you make your way in there. And, you make your way in there. And there is a lot of commotion going on. There's a lot of the village wandering around, sort of doing their bits and pieces. They're preparing this feast, right? There's a large spit that's being set up on this platform. Obviously, because people can't go down into the swamp, so they've built a rectangle, sort of almost like a flower bed that they're filled with sand and dirt, and then they've filled that with rocks. And on top of that is where they're going to light the fire, which are in the process of stoking up and getting going, above which is a large spit. As you walk off, you actually see off the edge of the gantry, hanging on the ground near this big tower, is a large arbor. These things are massive. The arbors are like the size of a bull in the real world, like a massive bull beast. And they've got this thing up. It's been skinned, and they're preparing to put it up and roast it on the spit as part of the celebrations for the day. As you go into the hut,
does it look pretty arborant?
See, he fucked with the child, but you committed the worst crime.
Greg, cut his feed.
And people are around preparing for the feast that's going to follow. There's a lot of hubbub, and as you walk into the main hall, you see seated at the head of a table is an older man, frail but bald, with a number of tattoos around his head and a large beard. And he is talking to a big, fit, stocky-looking man, big ginger beard, and again, a shaved head with tattoos around it. And the two of them are sort of talking quietly amongst themselves. And as you walk in, the older man sort of stops the other one from talking and sort of looks up and one of the younger people in this hall, which is alive with activity, sort of seeing him look at you, comes over and goes, can we help?
Yes, we are looking for Haas. If you can point us in his direction, that would be appreciated.
The big man with the ginger beard sits up. Who's asking?
A party asking for information that we have been told you are the best to offer us.
He sort of looks at you for a moment and then sort of smiles and indicates for the person to get out of the way. Come, be seated. You have found him? What is it you wish to know?
The way north, that is where we are wanting to go in the future. There was a group that came through here a while ago. We are looking for one individual from them. And the best way to find someone is to follow after their footsteps. So perhaps you can help us.
All right. And who is this person or this group? Who are they?
I've totally forgotten her name.
Hitler. Her name is
Hitler. She went by the name of Hitler, and she was in a expedition that was heading north.
He sort of sits back and sort of looks up to the sky for a while whilst thinking. A lot of such groups come through here.
I pull out a shilling and I slide the shilling across the table.
He looks at it for a long moment and sort of looks at you and then looks back at it before cautiously taking it. Could you remember anything else about the journey? Where were they going? What were they doing? That might help me think.
Lothar looks to Pentio to see if he's got a level of information that we're willing to provide.
At the same time that he looks at Pentio, and this is actually the funny that this is the time that Verm's not here. Pentio gives him a look that, you know, without saying anything or without mouthing anything, he knows. He's like, I don't know, Twilight Thistle. Like, it's like immediately, like, look at his face. Lothar would immediately understand what Pentio is like. I don't know, like maybe now's the time we're supposed to do that.
The whole thing. So just for everyone's benefit, Liam, what was because there was a little bit of this expedition was going north in search of Twilight Thistle and got ambushed by a group, right? And that group was...
I've got the letter here. The letter here that she wrote was, loved ones, dear family, I will never return. I set off to find happiness, and I found it in the most peculiar place, in the strangest of circumstances. The journey through the woods cost us many lives, so many that only 4 of us finally reached Whitewater and continued towards the Twilight Field. In this field, if this field really exists, and if it is full of twilight thistles, I will never know, because 2 days upstream, we walked straight into my owner's ambush. We heard nothing, saw nothing, and did not get the slightest feeling of unease until the arrows were lodged in our legs, stopping us from running away. Slender unhumans appeared from out of the greenery, disarmed us and tied us up in a row. My colleagues were eaten within a couple of weeks, but you know me, my stubborn inquisitiveness must have amused them, or made them curious, because I still live as their obedient slave, servant, and medicus. I am no longer afraid. All that remains is a harmonious, almost euphoric feeling of finally really living as life intended to be. Forget me, just as I will forget about you. Know that I am happy, Hitler, your mother and spouse.
Yeah, so... Well, there was a group of 4. They were heading... And Lothar looks at Pentio and says, on a expedition to find the Twilight Field, Twilight Thistle. But they were
glad
ambushed.
that Verm's not here.
Yeah, it's like, I told you so. But there's a time and a place. Verm does not know the time nor place, so yeah.
A little kid from the back is like, ha!
And they've attacked a day or so up north from here. And I do not know if you know the creatures that would be described as slender unhumans.
As you talk, he sort of looks to the older man, and you realize that him and this older man share a familial resemblance. On top of that, they also clearly have deliberately taken the same appearance hair-wise, although the older man has a white beard, and they have similar tattoos upon their scalps. As he looks at the older man sort of nods slowly and goes, yeah, north. I remember. You can tell them, boy. And Haas sort of nods and goes, no, they come through about a year ago. North. We warned them. You don't go north. Not far. One day, maybe more. And then you never come back. They never do. Every time hunters go, they don't come back. I've heard these rumors of your thistle, but it's not worth it.
Pentio interjects when he says people don't come back, and he just says, why? What's to the north?
He sort of looks again at the old man. Could you roll me a persuasive? Because there's already been a shilling thrown in, I'll allow a +5.
Oh, okay, that's not so bad. Whoa, that +5, I make it.
That +5 makes it?
Yeah.
They he stops for a bit. The old man sort of thinks, and he's like, truthfully, we do not know. There's rumors that the barbarians talk of nightlings hunting the woods, but all we know is people go, they do not come back. We do not see them. We stay here where the trapper keeps us safe. We hunt south, we hunt east, we hunt west. We do not hunt north. We have heard rumors of this thistle, but only rumors. Fields far to the north. Normally on people we see going north with some map, and they never return. Last such group was the woman you're looking for.
It's beginning to sound like it's bait.
Would we be familiar with the term nightlings?
If you have beast lore, roll a beast lore check. It's not a common name, so it's going to be at a -3.
Pentio succeeds.
-3 on whatever your cunning is.
That'll be missing it by 1.
Okay. Pentio will be aware that there's barbarian legends about these nightlings, also called darklings, which are said to be these. The rumors tend to vary. It's only people who ever talk about them as barbarians. No Ambrians have ever claimed to have seen such a thing. But apparently they are said to be the ultimate hunters. They are said to be as natural a part of the forest as any other creature out there, despite the fact that they are cultural beings. They wield tools. They hunt with weapons. They are said to live in total harmony with the Davokar and don't succumb to any of its corruption or horror. But beyond that, no one really knows. No one knows much about them. They are said to take people, any people, humans, elves, trolls, anything, because the way Ambrians act as if they own everything they touch and they can hunt anything they want, these nightlings feel the same about everything. They do not discriminate. Sentient and sentient, cultural, uncultural, does not matter. You are prey.
Cool. Pendio doesn't share all that now, but later he would. He'd immediately be like, as soon as he says, Nightling or Darkling, he's like, oh shit, I remember that. Time to go home, gang. Mission failed.
Quest abandoned. Lothar would ask, did Hilda, did she leave any of her personal effects here at Whitewater?
No, they loaded up on supplies, sought out my advice. We told them not to go north. We gave them instructions to find the place on the map they wished to find, but we warned them, you do not go north. And they went north, and they have not been seen again.
Is there a way to the place on the maps that does not involve a direct travel to the north? You must surely know somewhat the boundaries of this group to the north hunting area.
We just don't go north. It's taboo. Truth be told, here, with the trapper's help, praise be, we do not feel the need to go far. I never have to range further than a day or two. That boar outside I caught just yesterday.
Well, I hope for your sake that this group does not venture south. And Lothar is just like in thought at this point. Like, what could possibly be out there? We have a map. We have the map on us, right? Who was it that had the map?
Pentio has it.
Okay.
Look, this is the older man speaking. If you'd like, you could join us tonight for our celebrations. We could look over the map, maybe try and think of ways to help you. I can't make any promises, but myself and my son here have known these lands better than any man. We will do what we can, but you must understand that this is a celebration time for us.
I understand completely. It is a time of importance for myself too. It's that time of year. Things must be done at this time.
Well, please, join us. We have more than enough food. That boar outside will feed the village twice over. We'll have a feast. You can pray to your gods, us to ours. We do not judge. And together, we'll look at this map. We'll figure it out.
We'd be most appreciative. Thank you very much.
I imagine we at that point get up and just go to a table over and sort of like a huddle, because Lothar wants opinions on what our course of action would be. Because we have two, you could say, obligations that drive us to the north. We have Hilda, we have certain representations made to a certain chieftain of a certain barbarian village.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Well, it's a good thing someone remembers.
Yep.
Schoffen, you do not have any idea about these creatures. Or perhaps even you, Pentio.
So when it comes to
once
mind
we're off
for
to the
me.
side, once we're off to the side, Pentio would look to Schoffen and say, "Don't you remember the stories when you were younger about the Darklings? What he called Nightlings."
Just vaguely, but nothing solid.
And then at this point, Pentio would regale everything that he remembers about them. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. They're right. It's not worth it. What hope do we have against that?
I agree.
Well, if they are a group like any other, then unless the Twilight Field is inside their area of operations, then we can circumvent it. No, surely. They are not omnipresent. The entire north does not belong to them. They do not own an entire forest. It does not work. They own maybe a part of it.
You can try talking to them about that and see how that goes.
We would not need to talk. We would avoid.
We can try. Hopefully, maybe. No, go ahead.
I doubt that if we get near them, they're going to yell at us to get off their lawn before they do anything to us.
Oh no, they'll enslave and then eat us.
Yeah. If
That
we're
seems
lucky.
to be par for the course.
If we're lucky, one of us will get made their pet.
Well, Verm already looks like an animal, so there's that.
Verm is part animal, so.
Yeah.
Speaking of
The more-
fork and Lothar.
The more I hear about this, the less chance, or the less I feel that we are on the right path at this point.
We've already come so far. Maybe Haas and his father, I guess, will. Maybe they can help us out in figuring out the land, and maybe Lothar's right. We can just circumvent.
There's time to think about these things. We do not need to rush to judgment just because you have been scared by the idea of a boogeyman in the forest.
Well, let's get an elven spirit up in your head, and we'll see how you feel about that afterwards. See if the boogeyman's real to you.
We've seen boogeymen there.
I am not so easily to succumb to those sorts of effects.
Oh, you just
You
had
are
to say it out loud, didn't you?
You are weak-willed.
It will not hurt us to talk to these guys to see what they can provide us information-wise, and then we can make a better informed decision at that point.
Mm-hmm. I would concur. See, we are able to get so much done when we don't have Verm around to sabotage everything.
Ugh.
I mean,
This
this is
is
his
not
kind of place.
present.
We can leave him here. He'll be
No,
more
you
than
have
happy
a
to
I'll
rush
leave
help.
him here, but I don't think that. I think he would be the next thing on that spit for the villagers.
Our problem?
No,
No.
not particularly.
You're muted, Luke.
You wretched vile worms.
I think the party would literally just burst into laughter at that as well. Like, speaking
As we
of the
hear the door
devil when the
close
devil
behind us.
appears.
It's not the Dark Lord. It's a little child.
Yeah.
With his hair pulled out, and he continues.
You would speak so freely behind my back, but you would never say it to my face. Cowards.
No, I
Every
said to
last
your
one of
face
you.
plenty. I think you are the one hiding behind the little boy because you are a bit of a coward.
So
And you
immediately, like at
hide
first,
behind that
Pentio.
skin on your face.
So at first, it's humorous because like everyone expected it, but then it's replaced by horror
Because he's
as Verm has possessed a child, putting them all at terrible risk. And Pentio is like, I expected you to be in your bird, not a. What are you doing?
What are you doing, conspiring against me behind my back? Like the wretches you are.
What is
Creatures
it
not to be
about-
trusted.
What is it about the second you put up some form of permanent structure and Verm completely taking leave of his senses? You could put a stick in the mud, and then Verm would be like, oh no, it's civilization. I must ignore everything about common sense. I must abdicate any form of circumspection or whatever, and just do the stupidest things that he could do. And he does it. I will
My
say it to your
senses are
face.
as sharp as ever, and I am the one safely nestled away inside my circle while you are here talking to a child who has just been assaulted. The bad man touched me, huh?
I had child predator go through my head for the last 20 minutes. So.
You got Yog is now on the list. Yog is now on the list.
I'm not. I wasn't talking about Verm. You know what?
Well, that's what we're gonna say. Fucking the bad man touched him.
So what's happening? Sorry, I lost track.
Well, last session we had you killing off a child. This session we have assaulting a child.
But it sounds like he's accusing you guys of touching him at the moment.
Yep.
So much for season 2. It's a counter role play.
Easy come, easy go.
I just shoots the child a look of absolute disgust and says,
We knew you were eavesdropping, witch. So you know the plan. We're going to endure the night, take whatever assistance we can get, and then we are going to find your fields.
Assistance. I could bring forth the troll that I had once captured. Perhaps that would be of assistance to us.
Maybe.
I don't think this boy will be worth much in combat, but it wouldn't hurt to have him alongside fodder.
Please release him.
But
It's in your best interest. It's in our best interest. You summon the troll or release the boy, please.
Fine. You'll meet me outside of town. I'm on the forest edge inside my circle. You will see Vilsfin.
I will follow the stench.
You'd be walking in circles for days then, Lothar. Better to listen to what I have to say.
I think you didn't grasp my meaning. But
Perhaps you
that
didn't
is
grasp
fine.
mine.
No,
you set him
I
up
think
so
I
easy
did.
for that. Oh no, Lothar just lost that one. You just went no you. Minus 10 points.
That's Lothar and Vern's relationship. We snipe until someone has to resort to know you.
So, what's the plan at this point?
Well, we're going to the festival tonight and seeing if we
Okay.
can get hope. I mean, yes, that too. Help from them about a direction that we can go, the best course of going north, and what preparations we could potentially make now that we know who our adversary is. Potentially.
Okay, so we assume anything that you guys want to buy over this afternoon, you can buy. So we'll deal with that after the session. But any supplies and things that you're buying, you can do. It's just a 50% extra cost, as long as it's something which is reasonable to find in this sort of an environment. What was Verm doing?
Verm is inside his. I mean, he's not going to release the boy until they come and meet with him. So he'd be hanging around town as this child, I guess, because he doesn't want to go back in town. He's guilty of a crime now. If he releases the kid back in town, then that's trouble.
So you've got the kid. Now, when are you guys planning on going back to meet him? Is that once you've done in town? Is that like we've finished with everything in Whitewater, let's go get the kid?
Pretty much.
Yep.
Okay.
I think one of the last things that Lothar would say to Verm is to just like keep the kid out of sight. You know, like if you're gonna be an idiot, at least mitigate your idiocy by not compounding your error and just parading this kid around town. Just have him like, oh, he went off into the forest to explore, and then one day he wakes up. You know, because I don't think possession. You've been possessed. Like you don't know everything you've done.
I think it remarks that you remember everything, but it felt like a kind of like a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but
How
he'll
long-
remember talking. He'll remember talking to you guys like he knew you. So, so you guys have got a reputation now. Once that goes over, the bad man touched me.
How long is everyone planning on staying in town until this like festival is over?
Just till the festival's over.
Just the
Okay,
night, right?
so is anyone else doing anything throughout the day? Is there anything else happening during the day that we should be aware of?
Don't think so.
Nothing of import.
Okay, so the town is alive as people prepare for what's going on. Torches are being set up all around the center of the pond, and more and more food is being cooked. The town actually smells delicious. If you think back to like early Christmas Day or Thanksgiving or whatever, sort of important days you have where you can just smell roasting meat all day, and people are preparing food, and everything's generally quite celebratory, and everyone's quite excited. You guys are the only outsiders wandering around town as everyone else does their thing and gets ready and gets prepared. The tables are set up, numerous tables on this platform that sort of leads out above the pond, and the tables are starting to be loaded up. And towards the end of the day, lots of torches are lit around it, braziers and things, and there's like an orange glow all around the circle of this pond. And as the weather sort of slowly clears, it's still overcast, but the rain is more or less gone. There's a slick sheen to everything that the light reflects off as the torches around town are lit. And then you're invited to the feasting tables where the whole village is gathering, sort of 5 or 6 families, not that many of them, sort of gather up, maybe 60 to 70 or so people, and they all make their ways around these tables. Verm manages to observe mostly from off to the side, lingering amongst all the children and things, as you are all offered a place at the main table, not far from Haas and his father, who would have been introduced to you as Arrow at some point, as an ARO. You all step up, and Arrow gets up and he gives a big speech about the love for the trapper and how everything the trapper does provides. A wine is poured for all of you, which must have been expensive to get in. This is a delicacy compared to the watered down beer you had the day before. As wine is poured for everyone, including the children, although they get small little goblets as opposed to the larger sort of mugs that everyone else gets. As Arrow talks about how the trapper provides, and through him the village lives and it sustains itself, he proposes a toast and waits for everyone to raise a cup. And once everyone does, he draws heartily from his cup of wine, as everyone else does. Now, whilst they're doing these speeches and they're doing these toasts and they're eating the food and stuff, what are you guys doing? How are you engaging or not engaging, as the case may be?
Well, I thought it would just be politely being attentive, but not being an active participant, right? Like, so if they're all doing a big toast, you might just do the things that would be construed if you're looking as acknowledging as a good guest would. But because it's not something he believes, instead of drinking, he would just toast, put the cup down and wait, and then take a drink, right? Like, he's not fully injecting himself into the ceremony, but he's acknowledging.
Okay. You're toasting and you're still drinking and eating, but not as part of like the ritualistic sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
What about Pentio and Shiofin?
I'm in the midst of it all, doing
Okay.
all the things.
Good. All right.
Yeah,
And
Pentio's an
lastly-
active participant. He's an
Awesome.
active participant.
And Verm in child form, is he just getting involved?
Yeah, he throws back that little tiny goblet and then he snatches one of the other children and drinks that as well.
I mean, this is a great cover. Yeah, Little Willie got really, really drunk.
Yeah.
And so it's a good cover story. Excellent.
That's part of the plan.
Marvelous. So the talking goes on for a time, and everything goes well. There's lots of speeches. People are chanting in the trapper's name, and the pig is carved up, and it's succulent. It's the best meal you've had in a long time. It's everything's going very well. Whilst you're drinking, could I please have everybody roll a vigilance test -5, not including Verm?
Fatal at -5.
Oh, that's a success.
Okay. All right. Just give me one moment. I just need to quickly look something up.
Never a good sign. Let me just look something up because you all
Let
failed.
me
a bunch
see how
of
this
rolls.
poison works.
That
Basically,
wine
yeah.
was spiked with, I don't know, something.
I've got the wrong book open. I had a book open. It's the wrong one. So I'm not as prepared as I thought I was.
They grabbed
okay.
the wrong
Could you please
candle
roll
for the
me-
celebration.
Roll me a cunning test at +3, please, Siofin.
Oh, oops.
That'll be a nope.
What?
You're not very bright, are you? Poor Siofin.
No,
Oh,
that,
come on,
that
man.
passes at +3. That passes at nothing. That's your cunning.
My cunning's 12.
+3.
Right, +3. So you pass.
+3 to your target number.
Oh. Yeah, okay.
Your
I pass.
real life cunning was at -3 for that roll. Dice math, I understand.
I was thinking I add 3 on my roll. It's been 2 weeks. Not my fault.
Okay. All right. So you notice whilst you're drinking, something doesn't quite seem right. Something doesn't quite seem right, and the taste is off. And from a one wine you have, you're like, that doesn't quite seem right. And then when you do like a bit of a sniff and a bit of a taster, something doesn't quite seem right about this. Now at this moment, I need both Pentio and Lothar to make strong tests.
This is
Modifiers.
my best stat.
Straight strength.
I fail.
Pass.
Okay, so you're sitting there and you're feeling quite drowsy and groggy, Lothar. And next to you, Pentio sort of just collapses forward in his face and his food. And Siofin feels a wee bit drugged, but she stopped drinking once she noticed a strange taste. At this moment, in a flash, Haas is up, and he is just striking with everything he's got into the side of the head of whoever's closest. So, Siofin, roll me any dice, an odd number. You're going to be the one that's going to get smacked in the side of the head. Even number, Lothar gets hit in the side of the head. So, Lothar, you need to make me We're going to see if you actually get hit, because it'll be tempting to dodge. So roll your defense at -4.
Okay. Defense is quick, right? If I'm trying to remember
Whatever your
quickly.
defense
That's
roll
it.
is, it depends on the individual.
That's fail.
Okay, yeah, he strikes you, and you feel yourself sort of dazed as this fist comes in. The table is getting up at this point. The whole village seems to be scrambling to get at you, especially the leaders who are seated around you. Arrow is a bit old. He's sitting back, but his son and his son's friends seemingly are trying to grapple and grab you all. Verm is completely unnoticed as he sits over at his table, several tiny child-sized glasses deep. What does Siofin do at this moment? As she's there, she can see Lothar's been dazed heavily with a strike. We've got Pentio who's passed out from being drugged, and the village is seemingly desperate to grab at you.
I am going to take a step back and try and put some distance between myself and the grand melee that's about to start.
Okay. I'll paint you a picture. There's 3 tables on this platform. You're in the middle table, and so here's your table, and either side of it is 2 other tables. If you step back towards another table, which the people there, for all you know, could be reaching out to grab you. The tables are along the platform, so at one end you've got the grand hall, and at the other end, along the table, you drop off down into the pond that the village is built around.
Okay, I am trying to think if I would have my weapons on me at this point in time.
Why would you not?
Revelry.
It's your call. It's your call. I'm not going to say yes or no. It's up to you whether or not you believe Siofin would.
Well, I'm assuming that the other 2 would be packing their gear around and whatnot. I mean, Pentio may have taken his armor off, but he'd still have a sword. So,
Nope.
That being said,
Pentio is fully equipped and is now useless.
For now.
Okay, I've got my weapons. Yeah, I am ready to roll.
Obviously, you'd have to
Literally.
yeah.
I am frozen
Well,
with.
If you don't answer soon, I'm going to assume you are frozen with fear. So what are you doing?
It's not fear; it's elation at seeing Lothar get laid out by a fellow hunter.
She's like, yes, get him.
She also strikes him.
Yeah. Hey, nobody hits her
No
chains.
respect, I tell you. No respect.
Okay, I'm going to take out an arrow, draw my bow, and point it at Haas, and kind of ask him what. That comes later, and essentially ask him what the fuck.
What the fuck?
Okay, so you're drawing your bow and knocking an arrow. That's your movement action.
Draw the bow.
That's your movement action. Are you going to do a combat action?
Yes. Yep, I'm going to shoot Haas because nobody touches our changeling. But me.
Okay, so you draw an arrow
funny.
and shoot. Roll to hit, -4.
This is where you hit Lothar.
I get it.
Okay, roll damage.
What was my damage? D10? I think 9.
Damn, no.
Okay, yeah, you hit him good. He actually falls over. Arrow through the shoulder. He's just wearing basic leather, so it doesn't do fuck all. And the arrow goes through his shoulder, and he hits the ground, yelling. All around you is commotion. He spends his turn getting back up. Next, we have Verm inside the child. What does Verm do at this moment?
Please phrase it differently.
Moving on. Verm is going to. This is exciting to him because there's no danger for him. It's this is fun. So he looks around kind of gleefully for something to grab as a weapon. With the intent of punching this guy.
It's steak knives and things. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's grab a snake knife then and charge Haas and try to stab him.
Oh my god.
I imagine just this kid gets up from the kid's end of the table, picks up a steak knife, and is running across the top of the table, kicking scattering all the dishes and plates and candles and cups and things.
I'm picturing
Okay.
Chucky with a knife.
So he's running waist height through the throng and runs up to this guy who's just stood up. Roll as if just use Verm's stats for the sake of this. Roll to attack.
So beautiful.
No.
Totally unexpected. Work. Makes sense.
Roll damage, and you're getting your +4 because it's a critical hit. You get another D4 on top of that, so 2 D4s. Okay. And then you get another attack, another free attack on top of that as well. That was a missed. All right. Yeah. So all up, that only does 1 point of damage, but you come up and you stab into his thigh, and he sort of reaches down and looks, and he's got this look of confusion on his face as he looks at the child that's just stabbed him. At this point, the crowd is grabbing for Siofin heavily. They're sort of grabbing and just sort of pulling at her all around to avoid being manipulated. It's impossible for her to avoid actually any kind of contact because she just sort of stood where she was. So she's going to need to avoid being sort of, I guess, manhandled at this point. So I need you to roll a strength test at -4, please.
Yikes.
Right. They pile on top of you basically and pull you to the ground. And very quickly there's a hood over your head and you're tied up. The same happens to Lothar, and Pentio is out cold. So it doesn't
Why?
because
Why do I because I wasn't grappled. I was
you
just
got
hit.
you got
knocked
dazed
out.
You get your ass
heavily.
kicked.
Oh, you
Yeah.
didn't say I got knocked out. You just said I got hit. Okay, I'm just confused.
Yeah. So everyone sort of
Right.
just descends upon you all, ties you all up. Sometime later, the sacks are pulled off your heads. You're all there, sort of this kneeling across the edge of the of this wooden platform. The only person who isn't there is Verm, who the child was struck and he lost control of the child, and Verm is now alone out in the forest. What has Vern been doing whilst, because once the child was knocked unconscious, he lost connection. What has Vern been up to in this moment? This moment's taken about maybe an hour. So for the last hour, what's Vern been doing, knowing what's going on in the village?
Knowing that they've been captured, he's been trying to make preparations for their potential release. Looking through my alchemical list right now to see if anything particularly. He's already got the poison count. That could be pretty dope for this. Yeah, so there's nothing particular I think he'd want to create that he hasn't already created. So he would probably just get inside the eyes of his of Kirka, his crow, and attempt to get a better look at what's going on. He'll probably send that in next with Bar Beast and just to see the situation.
Okay. What you see is Isla and the rest of the crew from the boats, including the ones that went missing, are brought out from a hut somewhere on the edge of the village, tied up with sacks over their heads. And they're all knelt along the edge of this platform. And behind them, also kneeling on the edge, although Pentio is unconscious, although Lothar appears to be stirring, is the party. They've been disarmed, although they're still wearing their clothing and armor and stuff, but their weapons have been taken from them and placed to the side on the platform. And at the moment, Aro appears to be doing some sort of religious ceremony as he's invoking the Trapper and talking about how their seasonal sacrifice is here.
Oh, so the boss man of the village, was that Haas or is it somebody else?
It's his dad, Arrow, although Haas has clearly been set up to take over from him.
Okay. What I'd like to do is with the crow descend upon where that steak knife was. Pick that up. That blood upon it could be valuable. And bring it back to Verm. Verm's impression of this is: does it look like there's a sacrifice impending, like quickly, like soon, like?
Yeah, although it looks like quite soon. Yeah, it looks like Isla and them will probably get sacrificed first. You don't know how they intend to sacrifice them. You don't see any weapons, but you see
They could be
something's about to
chopping
happen.
everybody's heads off at once. They could be doing them one at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
You've gotten over there. I'm assuming you've done this pretty quickly. So this is immediately after you lose control of the child. I'm assuming you send this over, and you see them preparing for the sacrifice. So they're all sort of preparing.
I mean, Verm can't just run in there with his boar and kill everybody. So it's going to have to be. Hopefully, you guys got an hour. I think he thinks. So he's going to try to get that knife back to him. See if he can use the blood on the knife to possess Haas.
Okay. Roll a d20.
This is for the possession check, because I would use a concentrated magic to get advantage on this if applicable.
This is more to see if you can do it in time. Really?
Okay. Not bad.
Okay. Do you want to? Okay. All right. No, that's all right. Okay. So,
if by the time I possess them, I'm looking at all their dead bodies, and so be it.
so you're sitting there possessing them. So I'm going to cut back to the view of the others. Lothar stirs, his jaw hurts, and he's feeling groggy, but the drugs appear to be wearing off. Siofin has been beaten and battered, but otherwise is of her senses, her arms tied behind her back, and a sack over her head. And at this moment, Pentio, whose head is like he's kneeling, but he's sort of curled forward, his head on the ground, he starts to groggily hear Aro talking the village. And here we have our subjects, our offerings to she who protects us, who provides and who ensures that we can live the life of abundance that we do. And she asks for so little, but the lives and flesh of those who mean naught to us, nor for our people and lands. She only asks that we provide for her and her children. And here we are. And you hear in front of you the sound of cloth being pulled. And all around you can hear the croaking of frogs. And then there's a loud rumble from below the main hall as you hear sort of swearing start coming. The swearing is in barbarian, so only Siofin would clearly understand it, where it's Isla and her crew cursing these villagers. And then you hear the sound of rope being cut, and then a splash followed by another, and then another and another. And you get this feeling in front of you of suddenly space where there was once people ahead of you. You can no longer feel that. There's now an openness, a fresh air coming in from in front. And then you hear this loud grunting and rumbling below, and splashing and then screams from below you in the pond. At this moment, first, Siofin has the sack pulled off her head, and she can see all around as her eyes adjust to the flickering of the torches that there is a clearing directly ahead of them, and the edge of the platform drops down into the pond, and she can hear the cries of the dying Isla and her crews below as they are sacrificed to the trapper. Arrow moves on and pulls the sack off the head of Lothar, whose jaw
So-
thumps.
Well, I was hearing all that. Could I have attempted a prayer invoking Blessed Shield on myself? And
Your hands are tied, so you
Someone-
kind of can't.
yeah,
do
I only
much.
need a holy symbol as a material. That's all it says. It's a holy symbol.
I don't know. To me, I'd think you'd need to hold on to it, right? Like cursory
Well-
beads or something.
He's like one of those anime characters. He wears gloves where the holy symbol's on his palm.
All I know is that whenever I cast something that the holy symbol glows, like that's
What do you normally
Perception
need to roll to
action.
do it?
resolute.
Resolute. Okay, I'll let you do it, but it'll be at -5 due to the fact that you're restrained and people
It's-
are
yeah,
around
like
you.
I'm totally okay with that.
All right.
I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah, you're able to cast it. So you get Holy Shield up. He still pulls the sack off your head, and you're
Yeah,
now
you wouldn't-
exposed
you
to
wouldn't
everything
see
in
it.
front of him.
You wouldn't see
Yeah.
it.
And you now see what's been described.
Cool.
Arrow then
Can I-
moves over. Go on.
Can I attempt to just straight up break my bonds?
You can try. It's not going to be easy.
No, that's fine.
We roll ones all the time.
We'll make it look because you've been deliberately tied and you're in an awkward position. We'll make it a strength at -7.
I would just like to say that if anybody wants to donate to the cause right now, they can donate us 120s to help us get on this. Speak up in
And
chat
this is
now.
what
We'll
you're-
hold off for a second.
He'd be, trying to break free. Doesn't mean
He struggles. He struggles against the knots, and then Arrow moves over to take the cloth off the head of Pentio, and then pauses for a moment as Verm gains control. Verm's seen everything else up until this point. He's got the bird overhead, so he knows what's happening.
Well, technically, actually, he can't be possessing the bird and a person or casting the ritual at the same. Well, maybe no. I don't know if he could. But anyway, we'll say he knows what's happening. But he would Haas would pause and take a step back from everything and look toward Daddy and tell him,
Father, we shouldn't be doing this.
Arrow hesitates for a moment and says, "Son," with a question mark hanging in the air.
It's not right what we're doing to these people.
It's the only way. It's that or the Davokar. This has never stopped you before. Do what you were taught, boy.
I feel as if a sacrifice was to be made. It should be one of us to prove to the hand that we are willing to give our own lives and blood for what we believe in.
He sort of sighs, and I knew you spent too much time with your mother, boy. And he moves over behind Siofin and raises a leg to kick her off the platform.
he'll run up behind him instead and try to shove him forward into the lake. Or the
Okay.
hole.
I need you to roll me a quick test. This guy's really quick. It's 14. So I need you to roll me that minus 3.
But Haas is a trapper. He's really quick.
So was his dad, though. Okay. No, it's was it a 10 or a 17? The dice said 17 on my screen. 10.
10.
Okay, that's a success. So you reach just as his boot is about to make contact of Siofin's back. And now I need you. He's also quite strong. He's strength 12. I need you to roll me a strength test. This is just flat strength 12.
Good luck.
Okay. You smack into him. You stop him from kicking Siofin off, but he also doesn't fall off the platform. The other 50 or so people on the platform are suddenly very aware of what's going on. So what do you do? We're now in initiative order. Siofin's on her knees. She's first in order. She is not blindfolded, but her hands are tied, and she's unarmed. What does Siofin do?
Can I see any kind of opening that will get me out of here easily enough? I know I'm not going to be able to break the ropes.
Straight forward off the platform. We'll get you away from the crowd that's behind you.
Would we have heard anything that made the sailors scream? Like, I'm picturing that there's something in the water.
You heard a loud rumbling noise. You could hear them above water, the sailors, so they weren't submerged. You could hear them splashing around in there. You could still hear a muffled screaming, like behind a wall or something. There's screaming going on. But yeah, other than that, it's just the chaotic noise you expect from a swamp.
Okay, so I don't see anything else in the water.
No, you're back from the edge of the platform because they were in front of you, right? So they were like a couple of feet in front of you. You're back from the edge, and you can't see what's going on down there. It's quite dark, and you're up on a well-lit platform, so that makes it a bit hard to see.
Yeah, I was kind of imagining it like kind of hanging right over the edge of the water to make it easy, and
they hadn't moved you forward yet. They were in the process of doing that when Verm got control of Aro.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm gonna dive in the water as best as I can. My legs are not tied, right?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna head in.
No. Okay. You get up and you run over the edge. Can you break your fall without your hands? I need you to roll a quick test at -5 to avoid hurting yourself as you fall over the edge into the mud.
What is my quick? My quick is 10.
Your quick's high, isn't it? It's 15. That's your vigilance, right?
Yeah.
I think she uses her vigilance as her initiative now. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you managed to fall over and you managed to sort of like you actually pin dive down. You splash into mud, sort of like thigh deep, and around you you can see movement of these 3 very large sort of toad-like shapes emerging from the edges of the pond. When I say large, I mean like the similar size to the pig you saw out in hanging dead, and there's 3 of them, quite big, moving around in the swamp. And that you've got another active move if you want to do something, or that's the end of your movement.
Unless there's something that's within range that I can use to cut my bonds, there's not much else I can do right now, I don't think.
Yeah,
that would have been my movement technically.
Now, Pentio, you're blindfolded, but you can hear everything that's going on around you.
Yep.
And you're now waking up, so you're in a position to get up and sort of do something for yourself if you so wish.
Well, I guess I'll struggle. The first thing I'll do is I'll struggle against my bonds if I can't see anything. So I just heard, the shouting, the commotion, the sound of, I guess, Siofin running past me or running away and then jumping.
Yeah. And it's a Hessian sick, so you can make out color and light and things.
Yeah.
So you can sort of you can make out stuff that's going on, but you can't really see anything. But you know what a Hessian sack's like, right? Like a burlap sack.
Yeah, right.
So it's like that.
Yeah, like a potato sack.
Well, the way we're going to do the ropes is every time you struggle against them, they get progressively weaker. So you'll be starting off on the 7 as well, -7
Great.
to try and break free.
I need a 1. I didn't get it.
So they are progressive. They are weaker. You're struggling against them. It's just going to take a while.
Yep.
Right. So, but that's your active movement. Do you move at all, or do you do anything else, or is that all you want to do?
That's all I want to do, I guess. I can't really see. It's like I don't have any
Yeah.
to go. I can see shapes. So if that shape comes at me, I'll try to avoid it. But
okay. Now we have at this point Verm in control of Haas. What does Haas do?
Haas would try. Is he armed with a sword, with anything?
He's got a dagger on him, like some ritualistic looking dagger. You're using it to cut the ropes, so it's even in your hand.
Would that dagger be able to slice through the binds of Pentio, for instance, in a turn? Or would that take more than one turn to free one of them?
No, it could. It would slice through it in a turn, although you'd have to disengage from the father, inviting a free attack. But you could do that. Potentially. You can roll quick to avoid that. But that is a thing you can do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, given that I don't care if I take damage on this guy, I'm going to go ahead and do that and try to free Pentio.
Okay. Roll. Your target number is 11 to avoid being hit as you step away. Okay. You take damage, just a couple of points, as the father sort of strikes out at you, but you do get away. And you are able to quickly sort of slice through Pentio's bonds. So Pentio feels a thick, calloused hand grab a hold of his wrist, and then his hands come free. And as in all this chaos around them. Vilsfin, I'm assuming, is back with Verm, yeah?
Yeah, they're not doing anything back there.
Okay. Now the father runs forward, swinging towards Haas. Can you please roll me a defense again? You're looking at a target number 11 in this case. Cool. You take another hit. Not a lot, but again, Haas sort of takes a blow from a similar dagger to the one he's holding as the father comes at him. Why have I lost? What's Lothar's
10
initiative? 10? Okay. Why did I lose him on here? Oh, it's because I can't see 10. Right, there we go. Lothar's next. What does Lothar do? Lothar's hands are free.
No, Pentio's hands are free. Mine aren't. Lothar's isn't. His head's, he can see,
that's
but
right,
he can't.
You can see, but you can't.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Pentio.
So what do you do?
Lothar can see. I would have, in that moment, as I was trying to break free of my bonds the prior turn, I would have been looking around. How far away are our weapons?
They're on the edge of the platform, over by where the dad was.
Can I?
You could, but you'd move within engagement range of the other fella. That's all.
Sure, whatever. I want to try and get my hands on a dagger or something to rub up against. Well, actually, I don't know how you would work this, because if I want to get to a weapon, the easiest way of getting there would be going through him. You've just explained. So if I'm going through him anyway, why couldn't I just run up to where Haas is having cut the Pentio's bonds and just do the thing where I'm rubbing up against the knife as well?
You just run up and you're like, oh, me next.
Yeah, but I'm actively doing the cutting. I know it's like,
what?
You know what I'm saying?
Against whose knife? Haas's,
because I know he's been possessed, because I can see all this bullshit going on, right?
Yeah.
And it's...
No, I'd say because he's down between two wrists at the moment. You'd have to wait till next turn for Haas to actively cut you free. I don't think you can manually uncut yourself while someone else is being cut away at the same time. I'll tell you what,
and
you pass a quick test, I'll let you do it. But that's your action for this turn. How about that?
How far away from the platform is this guy?
This other guy, he's behind you.
Aro.
Yeah, Aro. Yeah, he's behind you. Like, in relation to the platform, here's the edge of the platform. Right? Here's you guys. And the commotion's happening right behind you all.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So he's not at the edge of the platform. Okay.
No, not currently.
Is there any way for you to ignite your bonds?
No. Yeah, well, I mean, if I have to get through this guy anyway, then I'm just best running into engagement range and just dodging, not running through him, just running into his range. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? I'm not running through him to weapons. I'm running in preparation for my bonds being cut next turn. So I'm going to run there as my movement, and then I'm going to try and break the bonds with my strength, and if that fails, I'm next to someone who can break my bonds.
Roll strength -6.
Nope.
Okay, now the next turn will be -5, but you're struggling against the ropes as you run forward. Below, Xiofin can hear splashing as these large toad creatures covered in warts and these horn-like structures coming from their brows start bouncing towards her. As they do, one of them shoots a tongue out in her direction. I need you to please roll me defense at what's the attack? Let's be defense at +5, although you have to roll twice and pick the worst because you're half submerged in water. So you got a good chance of dodging, but you got to go twice. Would the 11 have succeeded? You're muted.
Sorry. What was it? Quick? You're saying, or?
Your defense, whatever your defense
It's
is,
your
I think.
defense.
Oh, my defense
Yeah.
is 15.
Okay, so 11 would have hit because it was -5, right? So it's hit you. I now need you to please roll me a strength test at -3. As this thing shoots a long, sticky tongue out towards you, the tongue hits you. It fails, and it pulls you towards it. Towards this large toad-like thing, as this tongue shoots out, grabs you and pulls you in towards it, as you splash through this water towards it all. Next, we have Xiofin. It's your turn. You're currently classed as grappled. So yeah, you're currently classed as grappled, and you've been pulled towards this thing. What do you do?
Is there any way that I can break free of the grapple?
Be another strength test. Strength through strength, so strength -3.
Okay, so my strength is 5, so I'd be looking at 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Nope.
Right. So you sit there, you're struggling against it. It's pulling you towards it. It's not big enough to like consume you, but it's clearly bringing you in for a good bite or something. Next, we have Pentio. Pentio's hands are now free.
All right.
He's standing there. You can pull the sack off as a free action, so you're now fully aware of what's going on.
Yep. I'm going to make double haste towards my weapon.
Okay. Right. As you go to move away, you need to roll a defense test at -3 to avoid being hit by Arrow, who's in there just fighting furiously.
Is it -3 even though I have acrobatics to...
Oh no, acrobatics is free. You just get out.
Yeah.
It's done, Burger. That's fine. So you manage to disengage. Your weapons are there. So your turn this turn would be equipping them, I guess.
Get mined as
okay.
well. Grab load that stuff too.
Especially because you got a shield.
I don't know whether
Are
it
you
would-
equipping your shield?
Yeah, I'm throwing my shield up.
Yeah. That's definitely a turn then. So you put your shield on, you pull out your sword, you get ready. Around you, you can see the crowd is cautiously moving forward, the mob. They don't want to fight you. Like they clearly, they have no intention of fighting and dying. They just want you all to be sacrificed.
Well,
So-
so Pentio, he's still kind of groggy and a little bit drunk from being drugged, but he clearly has a look of fury on his face as he comes to realize what has happened. And he sort of says, kind of slurred, because he's coming out of being drugged, and he's like, "You want a sacrifice? I'll give you sacrifices."
Okay.
I'm gonna kill every
Cool.
one of them.
That's what Loda was thinking. I was thinking, oh, it's time to burn a village down. Great.
Next,
It's purging time.
next we have Verm in the body of Haas. What does Haas do?
I want to try to throw Papa in again. Let's try that. Why not? Try to throw him
Okay,
in.
so it'll be opposed strength. So you'd be looking at your strength was 12. So it's just a flat strength test. Yeah.
It's pretty
Oh.
good.
Yeah, you throw him. You launch him down there, and he falls on the ground right in front of these toad shapes that you can see. And the toad just latches onto him, and his screaming just erupts as this toad just starts tearing him apart, flinging its head side to side as he's hanging out of its mouth. Yeah. So that's your action. And you'll be able to, because you got a critical success, if you so wish, you can free Lothar as a free action as well. I'll allow that.
Ooh, do I want to free Lothar? Does killing his dad make him the new?
You can throw Lothar into the pit as well. I mean, this is your opportunity. Lothar is bound. You could throw him in as a sacrifice.
You can.
All Worm's problems will be solved. No more Lothar.
Tempting. Does this make him the new authority around here? Like, if you wanted to tell people to stop, or no? Is it like too late?
You don't know. You really don't know. Although, given the way he's just done what he's done, you probably know.
Yeah, some
You're
places
also not
are like
very persuasive.
Well, Haas might be.
That's true.
Lothar will be rescued by Verm, and he'll never be let to forget it. So Lothar's going to be really.
It's just another.
Okay.
It's just another in the string of. It's just another bow in your quiver. I've got bows in my quiver. You've got bows in your. You got arrows.
You shoot bows.
I got all this in there.
Liam starts bad. I end bad. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Okay, so Lothar, you've just been freed by someone you assume is Verm. You can hear screaming going on down below as arrows torn apart, and you can also hear the distant muffled screams of somebody else. You've got Pincio arming himself, and you've got everyone in the village looking at you all terrified. They've armed themselves, but we're not talking like weapons. We're talking like, steak knives,
Clubs.
chairs, like improvised stuff. And they're all sort of jeering and sort of, there's a mixture of fear and anger in their faces. There is a lot of them. An awful lot. What do you do?
Cool.
All the
I'm gonna go
easier to
grab
hit.
my crap.
Okay. Do you have a shield?
Grabbing my. I have a shield.
Okay.
Yep.
So you you spend the turn cutting up. Below you, Theophan's let go of the tongue and is attacked again. Could Theophan please roll me a defense -5? And again, you have to roll twice. Pick the worst.
Ooh.
Yeah. The fighting in water rules are quite brutal. You get bitten badly, as a matter of fact. You take 7 points of damage, which you can modify for your armor, as this toad lets go of its tongue and it chomps down into you. Remember to modify for armor. It then goes to attack again, so I need you to do the same thing again. Roll twice, drop the lowest. It's at +5, though, remember. Yeah, I've calculated it wrong previously. So your defense is at +5. It's quite easy to dodge these things, up to a total of 15 or whatever.
Okay, my defense is 15, so that would be...
Okay. You shouldn't have been grappled the first time, but it was cool, so we're going to stick with it because I got it wrong. But, so you've been pulled here, but luckily you managed to dodge it the second time, so that's fine.
Okay, so I still get hit the
you're all
first
good.
time, though, right?
Yeah, because we're assuming the fuck up didn't happen up until I realized it did. So you
Okay,
take
so
5 points of
attacks.
damage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, because I read that wrong. I read it the wrong way. They're not very... actually... It's at -3. So I'll remember that for next time. I fucked up. My bad. I apologize. And they've attacked you again. Now, here's my question. Are we wanting to leave this hanging as to what happens now that you're all armed and carry on next week? Or what do you want to do?
I'm keen with going over.
Let's finish this. Fuck these assholes.
Good to finish it.
Okay. All right. Okay. There's below you all there is a sound of groaning and the platform you're on shakes, right? As this big sort of croaking noise erupts and the platform moves as if something's jolted into it. Next we have Theophan, whose hands are still tied behind her back.
I'm not surrounded by frog tongue anymore, am I?
No, you have a frog right in front of you, attacking you.
Bite him.
That's not helping. Anything I can see that I can use as some sort of way to free myself, free my hands?
Roll a vigilance test. We'll see if there's anything you can spot down here.
Fuck off. No.
Nah, nah. You don't see anything down here, unfortunately. Maybe that's
okay,
the teeth of the toad.
Huh. Yes. Yep. Because I see no other way out of this, I'm going to look, see the mouth is open and that there are teeth in there because in the Davokar, frogs have teeth. I'm going to use my movement to get a little bit closer to maneuver myself into a position to be able to get my arms around a tooth and to break my bonds.
Okay. The way we're going to do this is you have to allow it to do a free attack, right? Like it's on its turn, it will hit you. There's no avoiding it as it clamps down on your arm, right? And then when it does, I feel like I can't just let you have a free untie, though. What do you think's a good roll here? I'm open to suggestions. Who wants to give me an idea of how we should mechanically handle this?
I would say cunning to try and figure out, like mentally, how to best maneuver to make it happen.
Right. So in its turn, it gets a free attack. It will hit you, and then you have to pass a cunning test to see if you can use that to free your hands.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Chauffin always ends up in the most horror. Like it's literally, it's a meme at this point. It's definitely a meme.
He jumped in that one.
I don't think Chaufin's getting away from this one. I don't think we can help. Pentio doesn't even know where she is.
Yeah, Chauffin always goes feet first. It's like diving into these horrible situations.
Okay, so that's going on. Pentio, you're armed. You're looking at a big crowd of people in front of you. Behind you, you can hear everything going on in the pond. What do?
Pentio strides forward to the nearest armed villager and loudly pronounces, "Let the first faithful sacrifice step forward." And if I can reach someone, I'm going to attack. Yeah.
Okay, roll to hit. It's a +3.
Nope, critical fail. Man, I'd like the bet. There's all like badass air about it, and I'm like, bring it on. Let the faithful bleed.
Pentio's like, I'm a badass. The dice are like, no, you're not.
No.
Seeing you come towards his wife and children, seeing you come towards the wife and children, the large barkeep steps forward. He's got an empty keg as his weapon, and he just runs at you with this thing. You need to roll a defense. He's got advantage, though, because of your situation, so you roll twice, pick the worst. Oh, no, yeah. Okay, you managed to hold him off. That's not how defense works, but we'll take it because it passed.
Well, anyway. I mean, my defense is 19, so I'm just rolling for the dice anyways.
How is it 19? Shield and everything.
Because he's a
shield master, balance shield, balance sword. It adds up.
He's a filthy min-max with him. Get him! Get him! Get him! He deserves to die.
Yeah, he comes running at you and tries to push you off, but fails. But you don't manage to get a good hit on him. He caught you by surprise in the fierceness of the moment. Next, we have Verm. What does Verm do?
He's gonna step forward and like raise his arms in front of. He's still got the dagger in hand and be like a stopping motion.
Like, stop at once. We don't have to do this. I am your new elder. With my father gone, you will listen to me.
Roll me a d20.
Fuck off.
It has the exact opposite effect of what you hoped. The mob, seeing what's happened, fearing that they've angered the trapper by sacrificing his head priest, her head priest, they all just rush forward. I need everybody on the platform to pass a flat strength test to avoid being pushed off the platform.
I fail.
Yogzula passes. Lothar, okay. They rush forward and you get mobbed. What is happening at this moment is Haas is tackled to the ground as people just descend upon him. So he doesn't get pushed off, but he's up on the platform. Everyone else finds himself just being washed away in this wave of people coming at him, and then they end up falling off the edge of the platform down into the water below. Could you each please roll quick tests to avoid taking harm from falling? So Pentio's all good. Oh, Lothar lands perfectly. Lothar actually sees what's coming and he just jumps off and aims for a firm bit of ground and lands.
Superhero landing.
Yeah, that's a full-on superhero landing.
Superhero landing, and then my mace lights on fire at the end of it. Just
yeah, well, I'll let that happen. You have a free, you fire up your mace for free. Now
that actually happens for free, which is why I described it. Like, I can just do that.
Well, then, as you land, you're able to get a free attack on one of the toads as you land, if you like. Would you like to do that?
Yeah, fucking.
You land next to a small toad. So defense is +3, so it's +3 to hit on top of your usual target number.
Okay, 16. Got to be 16.
Roll down.
Oof. Oof. And it's on fire, so it's. Oof. 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 It's nice actually rolling high on that mace attack for once. Normally it's a 1 and then a 4, so I'm happy with the 8.
We usually roll 1s and 2s on D10s for whatever dumbass reason.
Right, so yeah, you come down, you smash this thing. It's just not expecting you, and you land next to it and just bring the mace down, and it sort of sinks down into the water as it's knocked down to the ground. At this point, you all hear the deep rumbling, which is much closer now. The muffled screaming has stopped, and you all those of you on the pond level look and can see the muck below the grand hall raises, and a toad that is the same size as a large building emerges from the mud, as those of you with beast law recognize a fully grown king toad with a jaw full of crooked and torn teeth and slime just running off its back as it emerges up the size of a 2-story house from below this hall, and it opens its mouth and a loud rumbling croak emits forth. And this is going to take too long to finish today, so you'll get to fight the king toad next week before we carry on into the Davokar, I think is only fair.
Cool.
As Yogzula rolled a 20 and may have just got you all killed.
Well, that was all good intentions.
I still think it's going to end the same way. We're all going to kill their entire village and their god entity thing and then burn it all to the ground. That's the only thing that can possibly happen now.
We may be the first total party wipe on ERP.
Not total.
Yeah,
not total.
Worm's
Worm's safely somewhere else.
True, yeah.
But yeah, we're going to end it there just because, yeah, this is going to be a big fight. This thing has a lot of hit points. So yeah, that is where we finished today. That was interesting. I had a bit of fun. I'm keen to go around the circle. We'll go counterclockwise this time and hear how everyone felt about it. We'll go Pentio first. Ryan.
We continue the tradition of me never having to use my armor. It never comes into play because I'm dispatched in other ways every time.
Quite rightly.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, when you got drugged, I was like, okay, if 2 out of the 3 of them avoid the drugs at all, then we're all good. But if we have more of them unconscious than conscious, I'm gonna sort of push it a bit. Otherwise, you just get people being stabbed while they're asleep. So that kind of is how it worked out. But unfortunately for everyone, the hardest person to fight was the one that went straight to sleep. Dug, dug, dug.
Yep.
It's like, I'm having a good time. Great party. I love it. Good night.
And luckily, I think Verm wasn't actually there. I didn't expect him to be there, not in person. So this actually worked out better than I thought. I was like, I wonder what's going to happen once they all get tied up. But this has actually worked out quite good. Siofin, how confident are we feeling about you being down there? Actually, no, look, let's quickly roll for you to see if you get your hands free. All right?
Or die.
You take 7 points of damage, and you pass your
nice.
cunning. So next round, take 7 points of damage, and you're now
At 1 health.
Oh, thank
you're
God.
at 1 health, unarmed, but you're free. You know, look on the bright side.
I could have almost
so-
died again.
Hey, can you paint the picture? There's the king toad, and how many other toads down there with him?
Three juvenile king toads. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah.
It's
one
it's a
just
tough
took 10
fight.
hit points of damage, so you know that's a pretty big hit. One's pretty wounded.
We're going to have to run.
It's one of the babies. So,
Siofin, how are you feeling about all of this? Charlotte, you feeling confident?
We shall see next week. Yeah. I may jump into all of the dangerous situations, but it's not me, it's the dice. It's not my fault.
The pit.
This
No,
time
yeah,
it was
you have
definitely you.
You have totally decided to go into danger. I'm thinking of a certain tree that was a conscious call.
so they're trying to push me into the pit, you say? I won't allow that. I'll jump
I
in.
won't allow that. I'll jump. No one
I had nowhere else to go. Couldn't go behind me, they would push me off. Couldn't go to the sides, they would have pushed me off. This is the only direction I had control over.
She just skipping straight to the end. It's gonna happen anyways. May as well do it now.
Yeah, rip off the band-aid.
Keep them guessing.
Luke, how are we feeling after that one? Now, I have to be honest. I expected Haas, when you took control of him, to maybe cut someone's wrists free or something. I was like, okay, he'll cut the wrists free, and then there'll be 2 of them on the platform, and it will work out this way. And then, for the first time ever, Verm tried to reason with somebody.
Well, not to mention that it felt like a good idea at the time, but also they all bullied him before, like just earlier. He'd listened to it. Also, why free them all immediately? And throwing his dad in the pit felt like a good idea. Thought maybe taking over the role of village elder would let me swing things around, but instead it formed an angry mob that pushed everyone in the hole. So, yeah, things don't always...
Of all the dice to roll a 20 on, of all of them, there was I was like, okay, it's a mob. If he gets a 20, it's going to be catastrophic. But otherwise, you actually had pretty good chances. But a 20, when there's a king toad right below you and everyone knows it's there, I think it's only fair that you're going to try and appease the king toad. So, yeah.
Well,
okay.
There's no consequences in it for me. I was excited. I got to possess a child. I got to stab someone as a child. So it was a good session, and I don't have to worry about anything next time. So good luck, guys.
I liked that your child sounded like Verm, but with a higher voice. That's,
that was a good
that's everything I could have asked for. And lastly, we have Lothar, who's the superhero of the moment in a way.
Well, kind of, not really. I never expect to get like punished so hard for having. I say punished, it's not really, but having an initiative of 10 out of 20, and it seems Lothar always goes last. Doesn't matter. Like everybody. Have we ever been in a fight where something's had an initiative of less than 10? It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, a couple
Lothar
times.
always
A couple times. Right
Anyway.
now, the toads are all 9. So
Oh, but okay. Anyway, it's good. I can barely hear anything because my neighbour has decided to cut the grass at 7:15 on a Sunday evening for some reason that defies belief. So I'll keep it brief. It's been a great week. Yay. We're back to playing Symbaroum.
Yeah. So maybe get your next characters ready, guys.
I'm quick.
'Cause you
I'm
might
running.
need them. Yeah. So this is where we're at. So I had a good bit of fun. It's good to be playing Symbaroum again. I've been sitting on this overall village idea for a long time, waiting for you to get to the village, and here we are. So that's all good. Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out what happens now that Siophin's left all of her gear behind, but that's okay. We'll cross that bridge. But anyway, enough babbling from me. Let's get to our sponsors, Fantasy Grounds, where all your nat 20s. This party proves if you play D&D, Fantasy Grounds is great. You get all the 20s you could possibly ask for. Check it out for free at fantasygrounds.com. Also, whalengames.co.uk. Huge range of D&D, Warhammer 40k minis for 20% off. And it's our sponsor, Tabletop Loot, who gave away some minis tonight. Some dice tonight. Was awesome. Always good to give away dice. So come along next week, try and win some more dice. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you a lot to my party. Thanks a lot for putting up with our cliffhangers, because I spend too much time explaining things. And we'll pick it up next week where we left off. So cheers. I'll see you all next time.
Peace.